Yeah,
Little baby cakes.
right.
Yeah.
I didn't ask for this.
It's baby oil and iodine, it's great.
You could have used them down there on Main Street.
I could use them on my driveway.
Yeah.
All right. What do you think, guys? Should we get going?
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so I'm going to call this meeting of the Nantucket Historic District Commission to order. It is 4:31 on Tuesday, January 22nd. Present at today's meeting are John McLaughlin, Stephen Welch, Val Oliver, Abby Camp, and myself, Ray Pohl. Well, for the two of you that are sitting in the audience,
And pay attention.
Keep it down.
if you want to record any portion of tonight's meeting on any device, let us know in advance. The whole meeting is being recorded, and if the two of you want to talk for any reason, you should do so out in the hall so we can hear what whoever it is happens to be up at the table is saying. Thank you. Now, John, is this the agenda we want to?
This is the agenda.
Okay. So can I have a motion to approve tonight's agenda?
Motion to approve tonight's agenda.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Any public comment at this time? Hearing none, we're going to move right along to the consent. And, well, let's see.
We're all on it.
Yeah, we're all on it. I don't think we have any recusals here. So can I have a motion if there are no questions on the agenda? On the consent?
Yes.
Yes, sir.
What the hell, wait a minute.
TDLs.
As a person who lives with TDLs.
Yeah, number 7.
Number 7.
17800
True divided
administration
lines.
changes. When
Yeah.
it doesn't, I requested it before, whatever it is, don't say that, because nobody knows.
Oh, well,
If
perhaps.
you go and look at it.
Okay, gotcha. But perhaps John can tell you what those fenestration changes are.
Window changes?
Doesn't say window, so you don't know what it is.
Oh, okay.
Which one is he looking
Yeah.
at?
He's looking at
Ellen.
number 7. So that's just some window changes, John.
Okay,
They're
fine.
just
I-
taking
you
some,
know, If you
removing
could read
some,
it, because I read this before.
Okay.
removing some windows in
Do you
the back.
want to know which changes are being made to the windows?
No, that's fine,
Okay.
fine.
Okay. All
I'm
right.
fine with it too.
Okay, so then,
Window changes.
can I have a motion to approve consent?
Motion to approve the consent
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. And John, I believe you're going to abstain from that,
Yes.
aren't we? Correct?
Thank you.
Okay. And now we're right on to old business. I don't see Joe Topham in the audience.
Can I make a motion to move up anyone who's here?
That's a really good idea.
We'll give people a few minutes. and then we
Yeah,
can-
that's a fabulous idea because people are probably straggling in. We can do that, right, in the form of a motion. Stephen has suggested moving that we go to the first person who's actually on the agenda and sit.
Number 2 and 3.
Oh, you guys are 2 and 3?
Oh, there you
Oh,
go.
okay, so let's hold number 1 for rep. Can I have a motion?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Where you go, what's
sorry.
that?
Item number 1, under old business, we're holding for representation because Joe Topham might show up later.
Okay,
So
okay, thank you.
we do have somebody here for item number 2. And Mirko, was that you that? Oh, no, you're 3, so you're here for 2. So why don't you come on up?
Jimmy Andrews.
Yeah, I was just gonna say.
Number 1 is not double check, the name, it's misspelled. It's
It's
Doble.
Doble.
Double check,
D-O-B-L-E.
discount, double
No,
check.
is that right?
Doble.
Okay, hi.
Yeah.
Could you just give your name for the record?
Henry Kuza,
Okay, very good, thank you.
P-U-Z-A.
Oh, folks, I just
Welcome,
realized
Henry.
too that we are under old business at the moment, and so I would need to hear what the board is, if it has already been.
This will be McLaughlin, Camp, and Oliver.
Got it?
One Jefferson
Who's
Lane.
chairing that?
Diane was,
Oh.
but you need a new chair. It's your time.
Okay, is this gonna
Camper
be,
over.
is this gonna get contested and go to the Supreme Court?
Yes.
Yeah, you should
All right,
definitely be
So
the
you're gonna
chair.
need to spend some time up in
Okay.
Boston.
All right, I'll chair it.
Okay.
Seems pretty blunt, I mean, would you like to tell us what you're doing?
Yeah, so we had submitted this previously, and there was a request that we move the spa back further from the road, and that we use less paving in the parking area, and then if we could put some more plants on the east side of the main building there. So we've since made those changes. We changed the spa from its original size. Original size was 6x9, and now it's an 8x8 spa. And we are just doing Belgian block strips as parking spaces, surrounded by lawn. And then we added privet to that far side of the main building there.
Who's on this again? Val, are you on this?
Mm-hmm.
What do you think?
Well, I was the one who requested the spa move. I think in general, I appreciate that change. I think it's grotesquely overdone for the size of the lot, but I don't know that we have jurisdiction over that. Every single square nanosecond of space has got something on it.
John, what do you think?
There's this 8x8 spa.
Mhm.
Is that like a wading pool, or what is it?
It's like an in-ground hot tub. Like
This
this
is-
sort of area.
Alright. Do you have a fence around it all the way?
Yeah, there's a fence around the whole property.
My question on it is just, could it be a picket instead of a board? It looks like it gives you the compound effect in the old historic area.
Well, so this board fence is existing, and then we're gonna go cedar.
Okay, which fence is existing?
So there's fence along the back of this property. That's an existing
Go
board
from here
fence.
all the
Yep,
way?
yep. And then we're just gonna do 36-inch cedar
Are you gonna
fence
put fencing in here?
in here and around.
Here,
that
back
side.
here.
Is that picket, the cedar, or it's a board?
No, it's picket.
Yeah, just trying to know exactly what was gonna be there, you cedar.
Cedar picket, I should put it. And that wraps around here into the corner, and then
Okay, what kind of a gate you gonna have?
same
Huh?
cedar picket gate.
There's only one, right?
Just one there. Yep.
Okay.
Anybody else wanna throw something in here?
Right down the street.
And this whole side
Yeah.
is
Is it a hat
gravel.
or is it pointed?
That I don't know.
Yeah, we should know that.
Drainage, maybe?
It's one of these,
Well, they don't wanna have to cut it.
one of the three different
Sure,
ones. I'm
but-
just curious, I don't know, everything's going in that area,
Round
you
up.
know?
So, as a non-voting member
Yes,
on
go,
this,
please.
the picket fence, is that a type 2 fence
Type 2, yeah.
that
a
essentially
cap?
has a little cap on top of it, and the boards are, I think, 3 inches wide or 2.5 inches wide with 1.5 inch space?
Yeah,
It's the
that's usually
standard
what we
type
use.
2
Yeah,
fence?
standard
Okay,
type 2.
so,
No.
I was just saying,
That
there should have been a
clar-
drawing of it. you know?
yeah.
Or put on a type two.
Well, as you know, John, back in the index of the building with Nantucket in mind, the type 2 fence is, they have a detail of it in the back there.
I just wanna make sure he understands it.
No, I
Yeah.
like the little.
Yeah, that's what it should have been labeled as type 2 fence. And that's what we typically use. So.
Well, I'm personally concerned about seeing it from the street still, even though you have arborvitae and fencing, that it's a straight shot. If the arborvitae gets, I'm worried that you're gonna be able to see this spa. Can you tell me a little bit about the spa? Is it below grade, and what is the gray area?
It's gonna move.
That, the gray
type one
area
is
is
the one you
just
want.
the coping around the spa, and it's gonna be,
This is the cap?
Two?
This is non-cap,
Two
this
is
is
one
cap.
that we don't normally use.
it'll be type 2.
We always say type two, but it's type one.
Type two, you just
Or,
round it.
sorry,
Type
this
one
is
has the
type
little
2, right?
brass
Yeah,
cap.
Type one.
Type two has a handrail cap.
oh, type 2,
Oh.
because this is type 1.
What's the scale on this?
It's quarter inch.
Oh,
Hey,
Type two.
So the spa will be at grade.
Okay,
again, as a non-voting member,
please.
if I were sitting on this, I would do the same thing that I would do with any kind of pool in town, or anywhere that has traffic nearby, is to put that stipulation, our famous stipulation, on there. Our
Yeah.
famous stipulation basically says that at the time of the inspection, when John Hedden goes out to inspect it for your final sign-off, that the pool, or in this case, your spa, won't be visible from a public way. And if it is, then you need to supplement the vegetation until it was invisible.
Is-
That's this,
If I may,
Yeah,
at the
sure.
time of inspection and thereafter.
and thereafter. Yeah, you wanna maintain.
Is there any way to double up this arborvitae or make it like one more row of something that would,
I mean, we could probably plant to the inside of it.
like what?
Maybe, something like deciduous, like maybe hydrangeas inside, or we don't wanna put anything too much bigger. I mean, the arborvitae, I think we're gonna be planting 7 to 8 foot arborvitae,
Hoo-ah.
so.
Also, I think you might have a straight shot actually looking across the driveway through the gate and here. So I'm just wondering if that 4-foot gate couldn't be,
We had talked about, I mean, we could shift the gate more to the center of that arborvitae
Yeah.
line,
Good point.
and then put an arborvitae where the
Yes.
gate is.
yeah,
We need something.
yeah, something.
And like align the gate with that front kind of side door there.
Where it says step.
Yeah, exactly.
Is the whole left side and rear gravel?
Yeah. I just don't foresee a lot of sunlight getting over there, so it'd be hard to.
Where'd you find that?
What kind of gravel?
We were thinking just pea stone.
Okay, not that, okay.
No, not like 3/4.
I think we should specify that's what it is, because, there are all kinds
Yeah, I
of
think
gravel.
on the HEC list there, it says pea stone.
Okay, 6. Okay, so, stop giggling over there. Anybody have a motion of some sort? No.
Well,
I just would like to see more green on the site.
Yeah, I
I
agree
mean,
with
think
that.
about it, this is all gravel. This is fence. This is Belgian block. This is bluestone and a spa. There is a path of bluestone going to the back to a concrete areaway that goes to a cellar. There is not much on this site that is green.
But the parking area is just Belgian block strips and lawn. It's not all Belgian block.
Yeah, that's better.
I mean, it's a pretty small site. Those areas that are, I mean, that bluestone that you mentioned on the side to the back, like we're planting on either side of that with privet and boxwoods on the other side. So it's not like it's just all steps. We do have that lawn area to the front. I mean, there's not a lot of area that's gonna grow lawn, and I mean, we have planted.
Like, does this have to have privet here along the driveway? What is it hiding?
I think the neighbor's house is like right there on that property line.
That's pretty, yeah. He's talking about this one. I think this is pretty, I think.
So before somebody says something else, what, do you want, are we thinking about revisions here or additions or? I would like to see that one opening, screened from the road. And I agree with you about the green, more greenery, but
I don't know.
you wanna hold for revisions and see what else he comes up with?
That's the safe thing to do, if you're in doubt.
Repeat again what you said, you want change?
Well, I don't wanna be able to see the spa from the road, and I think at a certain angle, you can look right through into this area, and I wanna see that screened off on the corner.
Now, with a 4-foot fence, you probably will see it.
You'll be able to look over the fence.
So,
Well, and I'm afraid of this arborvitae thing taking over in town. It's like where the old, funeral home is. They sort of form a very foreign-looking, tall wall.
I agree with you on that too.
Right.
It's not a swimming pool, so could be for goldfish for all I know.
Or carp. No pun intended.
Maybe pull it back to the edge of the building and have like some lower planting in front, continue the hydrangea or something, so it's not right.
On the road.
No, she means back
So you're saying
closer to
shift the
the,
arborvitae.
to the,
Yeah,
Not
so
on
you,
the road.
you go back to where the corner of the building is and then start it and go back and maybe, I guess probably, like you said, move the gate and
And,
put a couple more.
right, instead of having the arborvitae right on the public street where we normally see privet, you would just see it further back.
Okay,
And make these hydrangeas or something, I don't know.
just carry
That's
the same
nice.
thing.
I like that idea.
Then it's not right in your face.
Yeah.
Okay.
You wanna see that on a new drawing?
Well, if that's the only change, not necessarily. I was hoping we'd get something on the other side. I understand why it is gravel, but that's unfortunate.
Maybe we could add more plants there and the gravel doesn't have to go all the way to the road. Like it could just be plants.
What about something like a ground cover that's sort of viney that you don't have to mow, but it's just not, I don't know, I'm just afraid this is a big patch of gravel.
I mean, if we just plant that whole thing, it doesn't have to be a ground cover, but could it just be some small
Plantings.
shrub along like inkberries or something
Yeah,
on that side?
that would be better,
Right up to the AC
yeah.
units.
Small shrub won't cover the height of it. You gotta get something 6 foot high to
no,
block
Oh,
it.
we're on
I'm
the other
saying
side
on
though.
that
yeah, this
side
is over
there.
here, John.
We're on the far left.
Covering the air conditioning.
Just so you don't have all pea stone.
Do you wanna add that to your motion?
Does John wanna see it again, or no?
Maybe it's on.
John, if they move the gate down here across from the step and they plant those arborvitae all back here,
Yeah, but wait, it's not that tall when you put it in.
no,
Well,
but they have to
said
put
6
in
feet.
tall ones.
You said 6 feet high. It's pretty tall.
Fine.
And then bring the arborvitae across.
Alright,
the-
so I'm gonna try to make a motion to through staff.
Okay.
My motion to approve this through staff would be as follows. On the west side of the house to have,
East. No, that's the west side.
yeah, bring the gravel back to where the AC units are and just plant that with something.
Okay.
Move the arborvitae line even with the house, the edge of the house, so that it's not right on the street and you can plant something in front of that. Move
The arborvitae,
on the south, facing the street, would be lined up with the edge of the building as opposed to in front of it. And that line would continue all the way back and tie into whatever the second building is, so it will in fact block the spa. moving the people gate directly across from the step closer to the street and thereby mitigating any sort of visual when you look in the gate from the street.
Do you wanna specify the height of the arborvitae when it goes in?
Like 6, 7 feet?
I don't know, we need to do that, it has to cover, we can't see it.
Right, so.
And we wanna make sure that it's not seen at the time of inspection and thereafter,
The spa, that is.
the
Yeah.
spot.
I did a little thing while you, those 3 things. Did you do it too?
Yeah,
Oh, okay. All right.
and to specify that the cedar fence is a capped picket type 2.
Yes.
Through staff.
All in-
And here is Exhibit A.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. John, you in favor?
Okay, next up.
So do you wanna see those revisions or?
No,
So
you
what
can-
happens is you make the revisions that they just put in as the
Yes.
stipulations of the approval. You show them to John Hedden. They'll make sure that you got everything down on paper the way you should, and you don't have to come back to us.
Okay,
You're done,
alright, thank you.
okay?
Snap a picture of that exhibit before you go.
Oh, yeah, you may want to, just
Snap
to
a
see
picture of
what
that
was
exhibit.
noted.
Yeah.
Okay, so Mirka, you're up. Fire pit lady. Nice to see you too. We've seen you since the new year. It's almost,
No, I like it.
no, it looks
Yeah.
great.
It took 3 days for
Wait, oh, never mind. There's one right there in front of. Do you want one as
I
well?
take it.
No.
I almost didn't
Okay.
recognize
Sure.
it.
Have you had that?
You just didn't know it was so different, right?
Okay, so that's for you.
And I apologize for not, for missing. So this, it was never open, so this is the first time
Okay.
it's open, but I missed the meeting.
Okay, so we held for representation,
Yes.
and here you are, you're representing it. So
And it's practically, the patio, everything was approved.
everybody's on this, okay? So
So
the patio was approved.
So this is all approved submission. The part the client would like to add would be built-in fire pit as a part of the patio, which, do I have a plan there?
It's funny, I don't see it.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, I see.
Sorry, that's the approved one. So if you go to the last page,
Okay,
we are practically just asking
This is the approved one.
to, John, you
bluestone
are good.
patio,
Everything is the same.
that's it,
Yeah, it just added like a 12 inches building fire fence.
12 inches high.
Yeah, 12 inches high. Do I have it labeled?
All right,
Okay, so it will be 12 inches high.
got it. And
It'd be a waste of
do we
paper.
even know where this is?
It's
Yeah, it's,
Surfside.
You can't read that?
Surfside?
We did a lot of review on this,
Can't
because
read
we were
that.
worried
I
about the
hope you forgot.
conservation,
Oh,
The
Western-
land bank, no, it's
Yeah,
a land
land
bank
bank.
access, right? It's
Okay.
next to land bank
Yeah.
access, yeah.
Okay. Does any one of my 5 sitting members have any concerns or objections to the fire pit? John, go.
I have a comment.
Okay,
Basically, we shouldn't be this small, we need 1/4-inch scale. If you're gonna do something. It's required on all applications, 1/4-inch scale.
Okay, I
we
understand.
can have her submit a 1/4-inch scale detail of this.
Even for the landscape, 1/4 inch?
Well, you won't be able to get it on one sheet of paper, so just the portion that, has a fire pit on it.
Oh, okay, because
If
landscape
there was a
usually,
1/4-inch scale drawing, it'd be as big
it's
as this
architect,
table.
usually 1/4 inch is architectural, so for a landscape, I submit 1 to 8 of this scale.
Oh, right. So, Mirka, if I'm looking at your approved one
God, isn't that something?
versus this one, this didn't have pavers on the side all the way back,
Okay, so we can omit it, so I apologize.
and it says eliminated pavers, and now I see that they're back.
No problem, sorry.
Where is that, Sal?
It's in the back.
On the north, if you're looking at the page, what would be up?
Yeah, it's this side.
And the AC units are right on the street.
And they were not there before?
No.
No,
Well, that would be something the architectural, like,
Oh,
And that was
Good
the,
pickup.
so we can refer to the architect's supply for them. I'm
Where were
sorry.
they before?
I don't know.
They weren't on it.
They're not on it. So I don't, yeah, so I, sorry, just came with the updated plan, so I didn't.
What is this stuff here?
And
What is
if, and then, yeah, the change was to the irregular stones from the regular, right? So. So if, Valerie, if you think that portion of the path,
I just remember, I think we were trying to keep it as natural as
Yeah.
possible.
Do you think those stones, those stepping stones could be smaller? I don't know what the scale of them are, but if they were, you know, more, it wouldn't look so hardscaped if they were smaller.
yeah, I can tell you right now, they are like no more than 24 inches wide, just enough for one person because there is not so much space. I can make them more apart with the longer, bigger joints, and I can make them smaller. So if that would be, if that's the issue, if you wanna bring them down, but I can, you know, I can also omit the side of the house. The one, but,
And what is the
10 feet,
shrubbery
right?
on the?
that was, that's the privet hatch. You mean,
This is
I'm
all-
sorry, just to make sure I
They're
understand.
Just-
back here by the foot wash.
Oh, yeah, so that would be natural. We will add more bayberries to connect to the dunes, yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Well, the
All right,
lot's
so
really long.
what did we decide with respect to those air conditioning units that Val pointed out? What's happening with those?
I thought
Which
you
I don't
said
wa-
you were gonna, the architect was.
Yeah,
gonna come
exactly.
back with
I don't wanna take up like responsibility for it. It was
Okay,
Can we take those
so
off
we're gonna,
this then?
we
Yeah.
will remove that
Yeah,
as part of our
that's fine.
approval.
Yeah.
And what's the thing, that's right below them?
Oh, that was supposed to be just the drain, just the, make sure the gravel, you know, just making sure that, you know, we have addressed the drainage around in that corner with the roof lines and everything, so it was just supposed to be the gravel pit, so, like, the cover, you know, the, how we call it, I lost the word for it. The drip zone, drip line
Oh,
drain, you know,
yeah,
it's just the little gravel base against the
Mhm.
house.
Yeah.
All right, so the AC units were removing, and then there was discussion about the limitation of the amount of bluestone pavers that were gonna be on the Western Avenue side of this. 'Cause
The Western Avenue side, no, the ones
these
on the
ones.
sides of the buildings were eliminated in the last,
oh,
This portion of the, yeah, this portion of the path.
which portion?
It's on the west side of the house is this. Initially, I had them just few coming to the
Well, your
partially,
approval shows just a few
Exactly,
there,
so
and
I
then your
extended
approval
it.
shows some on the
Yeah.
east side too, but not nearly the length
Yeah.
that is on the new plan. So are we doing anything about that?
if I may just say, I would be okay make them a little bit smaller and put them more apart, but I think it's just makes sense to connect the path on the, when I'm looking to the front, at the front of the
Uh-huh.
house, so the path, just to be easy. To path on the left, I think I would like to keep because it connects to the door, but if you feel like the path on the right side should be omitted, I'm okay.
Yeah, that would be
What's
nice
the
to get
pleasure
rid
of
of
the
one
board?
of them.
When you say on the
Val-
right, you mean on the, that
she
would be
means
the
if you're
west.
looking at the house.
At the
West.
front of the house,
Yeah.
If I look this way, so the left side, I would like to remain and make them
Right,
smaller.
I understand.
If this, you know, I would just keep this few just around the recycle, but I am okay if we're gonna
Yeah,
eliminate
that's the west side.
All of these.
all of those, yeah.
Right.
Would that be okay?
John? Yes.
Scale says 1 inch is 10 feet, starting from here, right here, up to the end of the
The patio?
blocks here.
Yeah,
It's about 175 feet.
yeah,
So that's the scale to this.
right.
So why don't we keep this, draw a scale from whatever she's doing here, draw a scale of this and a 1/4 inch submitted.
Well, right, that's what I was gonna suggest,
Yeah,
because she
let it-
wouldn't be
let
able
it
to get
go.
the whole site onto a plan at 1/4 inch. So you want a 1/4 inch blow up just showing the back terrace with the,
And just with it, you know,
Right.
add it to this.
we can do that, John.
Commission? Motion to hold
Just
it
for the
future.
file? Or just
Can we just do the for a file?
And this changed from Belgian
Can we-
cobblestone to Belgian block.
They're talking about some other stuff. They're talking about this and this.
Can I add
Okay.
some 2 cents here, too?
Well,
Yeah.
I got it here, but I'm saying,
No, but they're talking about what to keep in and what not to keep in. Just if you didn't hear them.
make, whatever they're gonna do, make it a quarter inch here, wherever this is right here. Submit it with this, and in the future, make everything quarter inch, you know?
Well,
That's-
sometimes it's impossible to make the entire site quarter inch. This site, by the way, John, goes all the way from Western Avenue, all the way down to the high tide line, which is
the
probably
first
about a
wave.
quarter of a mile. So if she did the whole site to scale, it would be like as long as this table, the quarter inch scale.
That's why I'm requesting to leave this
I know.
here, and then add.
Just do a
I see the length.
detail of it, yes.
No
yes.
problem, I
Okay.
can supply, but if,
Thank you. Now,
Abby.
Abby wanted to say something.
So off of John's thing, if, I would like to see a more naturalistic, border to this patio because of where it is and, it's out there in the dunes. Instead of squaring it off with all this hardscaping, is there a chance that you could make an asymmetric or a, what's it called?
Abby, I don't want to disappoint you, but I got the patio already approved as it is, so I'm not touching the patio. I'm not touching the patio, I'm just adding this fire pit, that's what was the submission.
And the
Four.
paving is,
That was all approved, regular bluestone, yeah. So I just wanted to build in this fire pit in the part of the patio, which would be 12 inches, just about. Like that's something with the Klein Express, they would like to have a built-in instead, removable, so.
So I'd make a motion to add the fire pit to the previously approved drawing, only the fire pit as shown on the recent submission.
That's a good motion.
Thank you.
because
Oh, can I just add
Yeah.
one thing to that?
Yep.
So, John, what Stephen is suggesting doing is there's some other things that sort of, Mirka changed in relation to what was already approved. So Stephen's saying, let's just approve the fire pit where she's showing it on the new plan, but on the old approved drawing.
So I will,
Okay, so now, but what we can add to that motion, to Stephen's motion, is that we submit a quarter inch scale plan of the back terrace showing the fire pit for the record. Is that
no
okay?
problem.
Stephen, is it all right if you add that to your
Yes,
motion?
so
Okay,
moved.
thank you.
Thank you.
So all those in favor of Stephen's motion to put the fire pit on the old approved plans and submit it as quarter inch scale terrace drawing, that's the approval. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay, very good.
and the-
Thanks.
So what happened with all those stepping stones on the west
They're
side?
going back
They
to
all have to
none.
go back to what was previously.
You're gonna write that
She
up?
wants, she's gotta work out,
Yeah.
she's gotta work out what to do with the AC units anywhere, or whoever she's working with.
Johnny! I don't know, man.
Just
Chilling out.
All right,
No.
bicycle, he's a bicycle man,
I know,
A little chilly.
you try to crank it.
yeah, in this weather.
I'd ride
I
a
say.
motorcycle. Wait, hang on a second. That's not me.
Oh, one.
Oh,
Oh, that's
sorry.
sorry, my bad.
Alright.
They share.
There we go. Send them all back.
We send them all
Yeah,
back.
yeah,
This
send
is
that back
double
to
check.
them. Yep.
John, was this yours?
Have you send that back?
Where did this come from?
Steve found it.
I brought it to give him a little quiz.
I'm pretty sure that's, either gonna be Center Street or.
Don't tell him,
Union Street.
he has to
I
guess
know
on his
exactly
own.
where this
Where
is.
is it?
Well, this is the old
Yeah.
laundromat. This is Main Street. It's the laundromat.
That's my
We're on
name.
Main
You know that little Greek revival
Here.
laundromat that, they
You mean
saved?
Martin?
Huh? In front of Martin, yes.
Here.
It's not there anymore because they moved it,
And the facade is now on flop.
Building,
That's right.
that building
Oh,
was,
right.
this was 13 Union Street. This, it was an empty lot there now. If this is what it was, it had to be either here or up on Center Street looking
Warren
down.
wants to go up
to.
JC.
Oh, God.
Back to the future.
Because a lot of these
Can I see
changed
that
over the
again?
years.
Sorry.
Redundant.
Okay,
Otherwise.
let's see, has this been heard yet?
It is not, nope.
Has not, okay.
I was
At
not
the
here
end?
last
Just
Tuesday.
so
This
it's
is
like, we're
another
gonna go
holdover for,
otherwise, we don't want anything else.
Okay.
All right, so here's Mattocket Advisory, everybody ready? Because we're all sitting on this. Okay, Mattocket Advisory says the location is not appropriate. Sheds in inappropriate location on Mattocket roadside. Most visible item is shed going to Mattocket and coming back to town. Needs to be relocated to the northwest by existing driveway entrance. Okay, that was Mattocket Advisory.
Linda Advisory.
So it's certainly her handwriting.
A reactionary street design. Anyway, this building has been previously approved. And it was approved more or less in the same spot. And what I'm doing is rotating it 90 degrees. I'm also moving the parking spot over to Baltimore, which is where it is now, or where it was before we started construction.
I just have bad connection.
And the reason is that originally my client had an idea of perhaps purchasing part of Baltimore, but the town was not going to do that. And so now he's going to keep his driveway on the Baltimore side.
Is this the one they're working on now?
Yes, it's
Where
up in the air.
Up in the air and
yeah.
to the left?
Yep, I
This,
mean,
this is Millie's, right?
no.
No? I'm that far off?
What's that?
Oh, sorry, yes, that is Millie's, right?
That's better.
Yeah, and the building, that's how it was,
Yeah.
that's how it was approved.
Right.
This was approved like this, and now it's moving like that.
Okay.
And it's tiny.
Are you keeping the vegetation that's there?
It's going to be screened for sure.
Brooke, screened in terms of, can you give us an extent? It's gonna be screened so you can only see the roof, it's gonna be screened, so you can't see any of it.
You tell me. I mean, if you want,
What are you proposing?
I wasn't proposing a landscape right now because we don't have a landscape plan, but there is going to be one coming in.
And the
So,
previous approval, was that contingent upon any screening?
no, there was not any, there were no contingencies.
Okay, thank you.
What, can you come over here for a second?
Sure.
Yeah, something's not square in Brook, like, so you have this labeled as north, which is that way, but isn't the red where you're trying to get it?
No, north is facing this way. Well, this is
Look
kind
here,
of,
bud.
yeah, north, well, it's northwest.
Yeah, north.
So that
This
should
way.
say northwest.
Okay, so
Because that's west.
this is, okay, it does say facing
North
Baltimore.
by northwest.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, facing Baltimore, north
Got it.
elevation
This is
faces
not gonna
Baltimore.
be here.
Okay, got
So,
it.
sorry, the red is,
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's the
it's what-
proposed and
Over
the
here.
dash one was where it was approved previously.
oh, I was gonna say, I thought the red
Has,
one made more
has,
sense.
I
and the
agree.
design has not changed at all, right?
No,
Okay. Yes, John?
You're gonna move the building, turn it, right?
Yeah,
Right. And you're gonna put in the blocks here, 1,000 blocks.
I wasn't supposed to put it there, because I moved it over here.
It looks like
You
you got a layer.
Yeah,
You can eliminate it.
yeah, we're gonna
One of the
eliminate
layers
the
is-
driveway in Washington, I think.
This
that-
one's going?
No, the one in Washington.
Yeah, that's gotta be crossed out. I think I just forgot to turn off a layer,
Okay,
so that goes away.
This
alright.
in its entirety, and the
Yeah.
parking?
Yeah, the parking is now here.
Okay.
So yeah, you can cross off the Washington. Yeah, and that's being proposed.
This is their property, you're
So-
gonna come in this way.
well, this, the short end, yeah, exactly. So you're looking at the eve end,
Well, that's the traveled
facing
way.
west, that's what faces Mattocket Road.
I'm okay with it. My eye.
Is the shed is existing?
It was approved, but it was approved at 90 degrees. See
Is the
that?
shed existing?
That's a good
No,
question.
no,
All right, that's why I have a question.
fixed,
On the window, the A window.
fixed,
Well, yeah, right, yeah.
No.
yes. Gable
I'll
end,
ask.
fixed.
Huh?
It says, it should say fixed.
Right here.
Actually, that would make sense.
One pane, simulated divided lights are equal. 1'8" by 2 foot. The question, what, operating it, what does it do? Does it tilt in?
We're gonna call it fixed.
Huh?
Fixed.
Fixed.
You can write that right there, fixed.
Thank you.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, the A window is fixed, right?
I wasn't
Brooke?
trying anything, John.
Yes.
The A window is fixed.
we'll just note that for the record.
Yeah.
All right,
A
and then
window's
Brooke,
fixed.
another clarification, please. It looks like with the layer for the driveway off Washington Ave, the lot line which expresses what was existing and what's not, there's an overlay there, so it's hard to determine,
Yeah.
see here?
Okay, so this
So
black
you got a double
line,
print,
yeah, this black line is the property line. That,
the purple line?
yeah, the purple line,
Okay.
should be black, but I think it just came out that way. This is the actual current dirt road that's traveled, and it goes over the guy's yard. He's taking what is his, that's gonna be his setback,
I think
it's
Gardner.
and they're gonna try and clear that,
Gardner.
open that up so people will actually use Baltimore
Gotcha.
Street.
Okay, so just to, guys, gals, I think just to clarify, if you look at the site plan, the purple line along parallel to Baltimore is the lot line. And then the proposed location of the shed is moved back approximately,
10 feet.
I would guess the setback distance. Okay, so for me, that's important information. And then I would just say landscape that.
Well, there's going to be doors.
Oh, gotcha.
Yep.
So is this actually gonna be shelled, or is this gonna be a
It's just
parking
grass.
surface?
This is this is the parking surface, that's gonna be grass in front of that.
Okay. And previously, the doors faced the yard.
Yes, because,
Right.
it was just the way it was gonna be.
So this is going to just, I mean, just for clarification purposes, this is gonna appear from Baltimore Street to be like a mini garage, whereas before it was a shed in the backyard.
But it appeared like a mini garage facing Washington. It's always
Right.
had those doors.
Right. Well, but to be fair, from Washington, it's further away than
Right.
it is from Baltimore.
Yep.
And I'm not suggesting it's a concern so much as I just want to be clear on what we're
Yeah.
looking at.
Yep.
Because with these overlays, it was a little confusing.
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
So you're not suggesting changing something, you're just
And what was the
making a
thing said?
point.
Um,
I'm asking.
I'm
not
thinking,
telling.
yeah, I'm thinking about the presentation of the north by northwest west elevation relative to Baltimore Ave.
Northeast.
Northeast, north by northeast.
I actually believe that net, they're gonna be less visible facing in that direction than they would have been facing Nantucket Road. If you talk about the number of cars going by, cause counter to.
Well,
what
they were gonna
Nantucket-
face Washington before.
Oh, I'm sorry.
What-
I
what
thought they
were-
were facing Nantucket.
The
I know.
the doors,
I retract that.
So here's the thing, before we get like off down this little
Okay.
rabbit hole.
Yep.
There are a lot of little buildings out there, and they all have utility, and one of those things that, they do is store stuff, and they have doors that face roads, and there are little sheds everywhere. There's one right next door, and those doors, they don't face Nantucket, but they do face, Washington. I think they're, yeah.
You know what's interesting about that one?
They
That
had
was
a
the
chimney.
only piece of the original house that was on the site, cause I did it,
Oh, really?
is why we kept it there, because Connecticut didn't wanna get rid of it.
So-
What, this little
The
shed?
little,
No.
no, the one next door.
Oh, okay.
Must be that.
This one. But there's also,
Which one?
there's this shed right here. But there's,
Yeah,
there's
here?
like little outbuildings all over the
Full of
place.
little building.
So I don't know what.
okay, so can I make my comments now?
Yeah.
So I think that these doors are gonna be highly visible from Baltimore Street. I think that they're overly ornate for Nantucket. And I would suggest that they would be a board and batten to tone them down.
Sure. It's fine with me.
And then I think the stylization of the people door would be of some similar nature. I'm not suggesting that there not be lights, but something that would be appropriate for a board and batten.
So that faces the house. It's gonna be obscured by the structure.
Well, your parking area along Baltimore Street is gonna give you a clear shot of that. If you pull up Baltimore from the
Driving from
north,
Washington.
yeah. Does that, Brooke, does that match details on the existing structure?
Yes, I mean, there's,
Okay,
yeah,
so that's good enough for me then.
Yeah.
Thank you.
But you're still wanting to see the garage door, so to speak, be board and batten without all the.
Or something toned down more Nantucket style. This just seems more.
I'm okay with the board and batten for the garage
Okay, I
doors.
think it would
I
look
think
great.
that the,
And,
the
and I
rest of the
agree with
building
Steve, it
is.
would be more appropriate to the neighborhood. Anyone else?
Yeah, I just had a thought that is there any way we could move this back to the end of the Shell Drive so that it actually looks like just to move it back to here?
Well, then it would be sliding up
Yeah.
and closer to that building. It would make it, start making it look pretty crowded. I mean, at that point, it's about 20 some odd feet. It's only 10 feet at that point, just because of the
Well,
triangle.
no, it just looks a little fudgy right on the.
Yeah.
I mean, if you were going to really use it as a garage, you would want to come in and make a turn. So I'm just thinking that's going to be
It's not,
kind of tight, or is
So
it
there
just a?
isn't an existing
it's
house, but
not-
there's an existing
It's not a
approved
real.
it's not a real garage.
All right, okay, I'm fine with it.
Okay, so it sounds like the revision that we're going to request is, hey, John, did you want to have stipulated as part of the approval that the A windows are fixed?
Yes.
Okay, so, and it sounds like to accommodate Steve, and I agree with his comment, that the garage doors themselves would go to board and batten. Can somebody make me
Motion to approve as suggested.
Framed is fine. You know,
oh, just no glass?
I'm just thinking it could pick up the design element of the person door.
So we're just eliminating the glass?
Yeah, if you do like a do roof over
Yeah, feel free to just throw them
on
back.
the garage.
Yeah.
I'm just
You mean
suggesting
crumble them in a
that.
ball?
Why
Frame
not?
them like
If
you're
that's what
doing
you gotta
your
do,
sign.
do
Just
it.
get rid of the glass.
Yeah.
All right, well,
it doesn't
it'll
have to
either
be a-
I don't know
board
if
door or
you
it'll be,
use that.
it'll be something like that, as
Okay.
long as, but just no glass.
So Terry, did you get the motion?
The
Yep.
garage doors to be board and batten or framed without glass,
Correct,
and the A windows to be fixed.
correct. So all those in favor of Steve's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
All right, thank you.
Okay, thanks. Okay, JB, come on up.
America,
Administration
that's
changes.
dust.
You don't know what you have.
Which, oh, well, he's gonna explain it to us. Do we have a board?
I don't think we do.
No, I think we do. Paul McLaughlin.
No,
I'm recusing from
we don't
this.
have a board.
Oh, jeez, sorry, bud.
Paul Kings McLaughlin,
next
Waters
time.
and Dutra.
What is the other?
So you're missing all but one of your critical members.
Oh dear.
Yeah.
Not on it?
No, I mean, I'm the only, did you
You
say
and John are
McLaughlin?
the only ones here
Yeah,
who
so
are.
John and I are the only people you have.
Yeah.
All the rest are AWOL.
Wouldn't go
I'm
with
so
that.
sorry. I'm sorry that you had to wait to get that news. But we'll see you next Tuesday.
Next Tuesday I'm not here, so can we
Nor
somehow
am
move it?
Hmm?
I'll have to move it till later. I'm gone for 3 weeks. So,
Did you say 3 weeks?
yeah. I was hoping to get this done before I leave. So.
Oh, I'm,
guess there's
I
no way
wish
now.
I had some kind of good news for you, but I don't think, we really kind of have our hands tied on this, you know, because,
Is it scheduled for John for when I come back, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
yeah. Let John know when you're coming back.
Yeah.
Sorry. Okay, so, we can't hear item 5 due to lack of a quorum. So, we don't take a motion on that, right?
Right, yeah, there's just no action.
No action to be taken. Okay, Robbie. Hey, Joe, we're gonna get to you at the end of old business, okay?
Hi, John. I'm good.
How are you?
You good?
right.
Now, I know this has been heard already.
Pole Camp Oliver.
Wow,
It's getting thin.
dropping like flies. Okay.
I stepped out of the room at first.
Ran away.
These are the old ones.
Yeah,
these are the old ones.
thank God those are the old ones.
Yeah.
We had the right ones in our view pack.
These are the new ones for him?
Yeah.
Okay. Then where's the shadow one? Alright, I'll figure that out.
John? Am I on?
No.
No.
He doesn't have the
A
right.
gold post
These are
like
old.
this.
Oh, I love
Ah,
it. Perfect. Okay.
Ready? I'm gonna slap you.
let's see what we got.
What's changed?
These look the same too.
Yeah.
No, they're not.
But-
Let's go to the, last page. I think maybe I put the,
Does this one
I
pass
put the
over there?
revisions next to the originals. I added those. So the ones with cloud should be the things that I revised,
Oh,
okay? Which,
I'm saying it's moving because of that. Big hook here and the big one down in the middle of the end. But anyway.
Oh, here's a
Where's Coffin Street?
Well, Coffin Street's way over. There's not enough chimneys on this street.
We built it too.
Wait, where's Coffin?
Is Robert, Robbie, sorry, that was so formal, I'm sorry. Are you gonna, are we gonna start with what?
This is what I'm looking at right now.
Or are we gonna just jump in?
Well, either way, I mean, so this is a comparison, so it's pretty
comparable.
straightforward, you can sort of figure it out.
So, may I, whenever you're ready?
Yeah, I mean, go
Okay,
ahead.
okay, so, right, so the biggest change, first of all, I'd like to address Val's concern about the proper height. And unfortunately, Ray was right, that the base flood elevation has now changed from 7 feet to 8 feet. So here's a copy of that, Val, which you have. And the second page shows, it goes back into the survey, shows the curve elevation there that we're gonna use as the benchmark.
It's interesting, Bracken did the elevation, but this report of yours is coming from Jeff Blackwell, is that?
No, that's just the new change code, so I asked Jeff about,
Oh, just,
because
You
it's
mean-
something else,
okay,
okay?
all
Something
right, so he's
completely
not
different.
associated with this project?
No, he's not. Okay, Jeff just sent me the email with,
Got it.
with the code change.
Yep.
And then explaining that if it changes to the A zone, it's gonna change the base elevation to 10 feet. So, you know, unfortunately, eventually, all those buildings down there are gonna raise up.
High tower.
Yep. Yeah,
Well, I mean, in the buildings that are existing, I get it, but when we're doing a new building, we can try and keep them sort of minimal-ish.
so, so the zoning is taken into consideration the FEMA regs down there? And I believe that the zoning says, we're allowed to go 28 feet above the, BFE. So that puts a maximum height down there approximately 36 feet for new buildings, unfortunately. So, however, that's besides the point. So, with that sort of set by code, well, definitely set by code, I've tried to bring down and address the issues that we talked about when we first reviewed this. So, I dropped the height of this by 1.5 feet, okay? Brought it down to 32 feet 2. However, I have to point out,
That it will go back up now.
it'll go back up.
Wait. I wanna get really clear on some stuff.
Yep,
Okay. Your BFE on these,
What is that?
that's what I wanna say. I brought a modified drawing that shows that front elevation
As opposed to being
at the
fat.
correct address, at the correct elevation to address that.
Don't put that in there.
because I wanna be very clear here. So, right at the moment, Robbie,
Yep,
please correct me if I'm wrong.
you're right.
Your BFE is being shown at the level of the finished first floor.
Yep, on those drawings, it's shown at 7. That is incorrect. I brought a corrected drawing of that front elevation with actually a third proposal for the dormer on the 3rd floor
Yeah.
with the correct BFE.
I see what
Okay, I just corrected that this afternoon before I got here.
So what you're gonna say, I think in essence is this. If everybody looks at the north elevation, and by the way, our board on this right at the moment is myself, Abby, and Val. All right. You have a dimension of 4 feet that right now is going to your finished floor, okay? That's actually not where it's supposed to be going. It should be, let's assume like 1 foot of framing, so it should actually be to the first floor, finished floor should be 5 feet.
That is correct.
So everything would essentially get a foot higher than what we're looking at right now.
Actually, 2, because the number went up,
No,
right?
Well, no, not yet. If you're talking about the 10, that's not happening yet. Is that what you mean?
oh,
No,
no, I reduced the overall height of the building by 1.5 feet, regardless of where the BFE is.
no,
I dropped-
yeah, I'm not as concerned with that as where the first floor is supposed to be, and originally you said 7, this says 9.
Oh, no, that's from high tide. So the lot elevation's at 3, we need a finished floor at 8 above sea level, so the whole thing's going up 5 feet from where it is on the street, not to 9 feet. Not gonna be able to park under it.
Okay.
Wait. That's incorrect. That's incorrect unless the first floor, finished floor is right at grade. Right now, the finished floor has to be,
16 inches or so.
right. So it's the difference between 5 feet and call it 1.5 feet, which is 3.5 feet. It's getting 3.5 feet higher.
No, our curb height is at 3 feet. is 3 feet above sea level. Okay, our BFE, our base flood elevation, has to be 8 feet above sea level. So that means to get from
5 feet.
from 3 feet to 8 feet, the finished floor has to go up 5 feet from the curb height.
BFE is not a finished floor. It's it's the base flood elevation,
Right, and
which
we
is
need
a
to be
foot lower than the finished floor.
yeah, so we need to get to 8 feet. We need to be a foot above 7 in this zone.
Right.
Here.
7 is the BFE. Do we agree on that
We need to be a foot above that.
with your finished floor?
Yeah.
So it's gonna come up 1 foot with respect to this that we're looking at right now.
Yeah,
Okay?
yeah. It's at
All
8
right.
feet above sea level. Okay. never
Let's
mind.
try and simplify it. I mean, above sea level. Let's talk about with respect to the grade that we're looking at. All right?
Up 5 feet.
So, but now, I still disagree, because you're raising the finished floor 5 feet above the grade, right? 5 feet, finished floor, 5 feet above the grade. We just agreed that, let's say your finished floor right now is 1.5 feet above the finished grade. So that's a net difference of 3.5 feet. You're raising you're raising your finished floor 3.5 feet above what it is right now.
I just picked 16 as an arbitrary number. I don't know what it is.
Whatever it is, I mean, it's approximately gonna be that, but I'm not, unless it's right level with the grade, you're not raising it 5 feet, you're raising it something less than 5 feet.
Oh, yeah, I'm talking about from our benchmark, our 3 foot level.
I'm only saying,
I'm not talking about anything other than ground.
so, I guess this is only important insofar as what the maximum allowable and all that is, and hopefully you're under the maximum allowable, but now, so I think it's pretty clear to everybody what revisions you have made to the previous submission. So, now that we've kind of gotten on the same page about the height of the building, I want to hear from Val and Abby.
Can I go through the rest of the changes?
Yeah, sure, sorry.
Is that okay? Okay, so, not wanting to confuse it any further, but here is the corrected elevation from 7 to 8, okay? And a third proposal for the dormers on the 3rd floor, okay? So, just to quickly go through these things.
I'm gonna come over
Yeah,
there
come
because
on
there's
over.
something
I brought
fast.
one for everybody.
Oh, everybody gets one.
Sorry.
I'll take one too.
Oh, yeah.
This requires some scrutiny.
Okay, so, I dropped the overall height of the structure by 1.5 feet. I separated the dormers on the left-hand side. I dropped the eave line and reduced the height of the form on the right-hand side. I made the dormer on the 3rd floor narrower. I think I added a window, or at least reduced some of the shingle area on both sides. My 3rd proposal splits it into 2 dormers as opposed to the single wide dormer across the front. The shingled deck on the porch, I put in the balusters as Abby requested, and I think that's a great idea. I looked at taking out the balusters on the connecting deck. However, from an interior perspective, we'd like that deck to flow right out from the living space and the kitchen area at the same level. So, one of the proposals that I brought would be to shingle the back wall, because we need a guardrail for code, of course, because it's 5 feet above grade, which I think is a nice compromise in getting rid of all that bit of busy baluster stuff that really was kind of annoying. So I think the shingled wall is a good way to do that. I got rid of the vertical boards, the skirting underneath the porch, try to reduce some of that vertical look of that front form, replaced it with a lattice. I widened that front form and reduced the length of the form on the right, just so that it was wider and gave it, got some of that verticality, try to bring it down. I took out some of the moldings over this. I reduced the height of the windows to bring down some of that tall element that they were proposing or displaying. I got rid of the molding on the tops of the second and the third floor windows to help bring the rest of that down. I reduced the height of those windows on the second floor as well. I broke the long line on the back on the what elevation is that? On the south elevation, when that dropped, that broke that continuous roof form and broke that ridge line. I think that's about it. So.
Okay, thank you, Rob. Who wants to start?
I have a quick, I don't wanna start, I just wanted to, well, okay. What is the shape, what is the size of that roof walk you have there? Is it a square?
I think we
No.
need to get rid of it.
Yeah, I was just curious before we get rid of it.
Okay, so there's a roof walk on the house. Did you guys go view the street?
But my
Yeah.
first
We need
question
some-
is it a square?
No,
Because it looks like it
8
goes
by
the
14.
same. Because it goes,
Well,
it looks like it's,
you're looking at the front and back, what you have to do is the sides.
oh, there it is. Okay.
So if you
It
look
just
at that,
makes the whole thing so
Yeah.
much taller and so much more complicated.
Yeah, I don't even think changing the size of it is going to, I think it's the hat on the head making that person taller. Just, Val, if you wanna go, I just wanted to ask about that, what the size of that was.
I don't know what to say. There's just so much going on. Now we have lattice, we have railing, we have a roof walk, we have railing and shingled railing back in, connecting the shed, which now has steps in front of it. It's just so much building for that site.
I couldn't have said it better myself, Val, you said you didn't know what to say. I think it's very vertical, very massive, and the dormer on the third floor and the roof walk are certainly highlighting that. It's kind of like, you're taking an issue, which is that of the floodplain, and kind of running with it and making everything as vertical as it possibly can be, rather than trying to bring it down. The other thing I noticed, Robbie, this, just by the way, it's to Val's point, and she was the one that brought this up months ago, not on your project, but just on projects in general with this floodplain thing. This thing that I would imagine Bracken submitted to you, is that right? Is dated 2014, so all the information on this is outdated. We're gonna need to have a revised plan from him saying what the real flood zone is, what the real elevation is, so that we can then go back to this. And by the way, BFE is a foot below the finished floor. It's not the finished floor. So the BFE, whatever that may be, you add the foot on top of that. Okay?
I understand.
Okay, all right.
Which puts it at 8.
Right, but I think, was this the handout that you gave me? Like to say that this would change? So,
It's the bottom one.
yeah, so you're still showing this lining up with the finished floor? It's not. The BFE does not line up with the finished floor.
So, the BFE is gonna be down a foot, but the finished floor has to be at that elevation.
Okay,
If
so,
he- Okay.
again, I'm kind of speaking for the whole board, but this is something that Val is gonna try and insist upon, which I think is a great idea, that when we're dealing in the floodplain, that we have really updated, accurate information
Okay.
from the surveyors. You can just ask Don to
Yep,
provide us with
yep.
that. Okay, so I kind of said what my overarching concerns are, and that is the mass, the height, the roof walk, the extent of the third floor dormer. Those are my main concerns. Does anybody have anything else they want to contribute to that?
I've something really not very nice thing to say.
Well, try and say it in a nice way. I mean, you're allowed to voice your concern without
So,
being.
Robbie, I think that, you know, the garage or the secondary house here, or whatever it is, the shed, connecting it, is it's the same as the roof walk to me. It's like, everything is getting pushed out. You're maxing out the property as much as possible, and I don't think it's helping it to be a quiet, successful drawing. I would like to see everything brought down. Maybe the connector is too much.
You mean this piece?
Yes, the whole connector, connecting it to it. It's like, it's creative, but for down there, it just doesn't seem appropriate. Unless you can show me where there's another one, but I think the third floor dormer in any shape is accentuating the verticalness as well. So I don't know,
Eliminate the dormer?
I would love that. But then I think, I tried doing that, and then it sort of throws off your additive massing, because the windows are at, you know,
Oh.
you'd have to sort of redraw how they all,
Well,
you know, line up.
you're just saying that the eave of the dormer is actually higher than the eave of the main gable. I
Right,
think that's
so
where you're
I-
going with that.
I'd like to see, you know, some consistency would quiet this down, like, tops of windows all lining up across and giving it some uniformity.
Okay. Val, anything else?
I just think anything that can simplify it, maybe getting rid of that little tiny useless deck on the second floor would give you more leeway for the roof walk. It just doesn't seem to compete as much or something, I don't know.
We can eliminate that little deck on the front. It's,
I
you know,
wish
and
that
would allow
the roof
that
walk-
whole eave to come down.
Was not, you know, sitting on top of the dormer. Maybe the front dormer could be like below it.
Which one are you talking about, Val?
The elevation,
Yeah, which elevation? The north?
yeah. North.
And you're saying what?
I think what's not helping it is that it's sitting on top of the dormer the way it is. If
Oh, the
it was
roof wall.
below the dormer, it may read better or simpler.
I think, actually, if you take away that dormer in any, it quiets everything down, that third floor.
No, I understand.
Okay.
I don't know.
Well, those are some pretty broad comments. That personally I believe address the biggest problem with the massing of the building and its height.
And then it says on this thing, note that uninhabited garages and storage sheds are exempt from this requirement, so this shed could go back.
Yeah.
They just wanna get their stored material up, you know, at least a couple of feet to help, so they can handle a small flood without having their
Well, I think you can bring the shingles down and bring the door down and still have the inside floor level up high, but from the street, it looks like it's,
More grounded.
right. You know what I mean?
Good point.
So when you
Mhm.
open the door, like,
Yeah, like in a
floors.
barn,
Yeah.
you know, your
Yeah.
barn door goes down to the ground.
You
but
don't
when
have to
open it up,
bend
it's
over to pick
floor
up your
level.
stuff.
Exactly.
right, you're loading stuff like at Cape Cod Express.
Back the truck up.
Because I think that that's also now making it seem more complicated with all the stairs in front and
Mhm.
everything.
No,
Um,
I'm listening.
Okay,
You're gonna hold for revision?
yeah, we'll hold for revisions and we'll hold for some more, updated information on the survey plan and the floodplain and all that good stuff.
I do appreciate getting rid of all the brick around the building, that was good.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay,
Get a shoe dirty or something.
Okay.
I'm gonna keep that too, just because we were discussing it. And could you give us multiple copies of this? Alright, so.
Was
can
there
you
something
send
else?
yours
Did he give
down?
us this today?
Yeah, but I
Oh,
wanna
this
look
is-
at it.
Okay, so there was a motion to hold the dwelling for revisions and updated survey information. Can we have the shed to track?
Yeah,
We actually said
Yeah.
a few things on the shed while we were talking about that. So all those in favor of Val's motion to hold for revisions on the main house and have the shed to track? Aye. Thank you, Robbie.
Okay, thank
See you
you.
next time.
Alrighty.
Okay, 2 Westerwick. Hey, I'm gonna make a suggestion, boys. Cause you have the whole block. You know, yeah, just so that you're not coming up and then sitting back down, okay? So Joe, we'll hear you. And then then it will be, you have the rest of, you have us till 9 o'clock.
Wait, what's number 8?
Number 8.
Same property.
Item number 8? 7 to track. It's gonna track, it was the shed, it's gonna track with the, look, Joe. Okay, so we're going back to Stone Coast Way for a second. Has this been heard?
Does that make sense?
Has not been heard, so everybody is on this.
Yeah,
I
that's why I get.
yeah, well, that's why I wanted something from the survey.
Yeah, no, I agree with you.
Oh,
I agree with you. Hey, Joe.
I was wondering
Did you see
when
it said
somebody would
double
put something
check?
there.
Yes, I double checked. Double.
Discount
of
double
double.
check.
That big lot on the corner.
Oh, yeah.
It's happening.
I did work for the woman next door. I think her family owns it.
Doble,
They own that whole, like, they did own that.
Doble was the dad's last name.
Yeah, and then the daughter, I think.
She's a doctor.
She's a check.
Checkish?
Double check.
Double
I
check.
have this stuff.
Hmm?
Yeah, get it in, you know?
Okay,
All right.
Stay back from me.
so right now there's an existing wraparound porch.
Oh, you're just cold.
No, you guys are good. I'm gonna grab something for the next application.
Oh, okay. I was gonna say, where'd you go?
He's like, Kadeem's
Where's he
leaving.
going?
He's out of the door. Got dues to
Okay.
pay, brother.
So there's an existing wraparound porch and we'd like to expand the living room area.
So this is not a new
I thought this
house.
said, I thought this said new
No,
dwelling.
he's right. It says window, porch, door. But,
You're also changing the
Why
siding.
do you have all site plans?
yeah, this is weird.
We don't have any site plan.
Okay, well, we
That's
got 4 of them over here. This is really funny. Anybody want a site plan?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Work for yourself up.
And then, in exchange,
New
do
trainee.
we have, have a site.
Another set.
Is there another set someplace that we can look at?
Elevation.
Yep, that's it. Yep.
Double check. We're
No,
not
no.
looking at it.
No, you're good.
See if we got any duplicates.
People say 4 sets of elevations, they think.
They think 4
Is there
sets.
pictures in there of the house?
Existing south.
So,
Yeah.
this is a wraparound porch, and we wanna fill this area in, and
Oh.
bring this out, and then we would take this French door and have it face east.
So south is obviously, let's see, south is facing down to the, old.
So this is a wraparound porch now, and what we wanna do is take this porch, fill it in, and then take this French door on the side elevation, and then carry this around.
So the south is what faces the street, Stone Post, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Faces the water.
This looks exactly like my house on Corey.
But this is here now.
Vertical, horizontal stuff going
Yeah.
on.
The one that I've seen.
The one in the back, yeah, it's got sun porch all the way to the left, it's got a big thing like this. Well, this-
Yeah, that's my only concern. Changing that to shiplap
And then it doesn't look like it at all.
Yeah.
I'm finding it almost.
Because this doesn't look like shiplap to me.
No, it's not.
Is your red
This is
cedar?
shingles.
It's shingled now, and I was just changing it to, 1 by 8,
Is it painted or
all
natural?
natural.
Natural.
Yeah, but it's.
And is the trim on this house painted or?
Here.
Everything natural. Thank you, Val.
Oh,
We have to share one set.
What am I not seeing, Steve?
Okay.
Sorry, Terry.
So Joe, I don't mind the filling in part and making it look like it's a fill-in, but the vertical board, I
Yeah.
can't remember seeing anywhere,
negatory for me as well.
especially natural to weather.
Shingle.
If it,
Yeah.
are you leaving the post just to delineate that so it looks like it was a?
I like that.
I do too.
Yeah, that's,
What-
a classic way of handling this. Sun porch,
Yeah,
used to be a porch filled in with windows, left the columns.
I think you could get away with doing some kind of paneled wood below and then
not a bad
shingle
idea.
the rest.
I like that, that's.
Yeah, that is nice.
And that seems very sconcy.
Yeah.
Yes.
You mean, so basically where the window sills are, you would have panels underneath that and shingle
Yeah.
everything else up above that?
I can think of a lot of houses that have that.
Mm-hmm.
Panels where?
Underneath,
Underneath.
like you have a sunroom and it used to have like a rail and then they panel underneath.
On the
and-
outside of the building?
Yeah.
Under
Yeah.
panels.
It's traditional.
Oh, yeah.
You're not
No.
allowed that.
I like the regular shingle.
Okay. So, I liked your idea though. What do you think, Steve?
I'm with my colleague to the north here.
Okay. All right. John, what do you think of this proposal?
That's you, Val.
Oh,
Well, I don't know what pitch that is there.
That's existing.
Yeah.
Okay, what I'm missing is this goes all the way up to that?
That's existing. It's just all the public.
This is existing?
Yeah.
Hey, John,
Public land.
Well, that's the
once
only
you're
thing.
finished with it, you should send those over to John, so you can see the house. John, we have some photographs of the way the house looks now.
I lived out there.
Stone Post Way?
Yeah, I lived in the father's house.
Really?
Yeah, just a over.
Bud.
And got around.
It's only a few months while we were building. So,
He owned a lot of real estate out there. I think he owned that whole Stone Post Way, didn't he?
Yes.
no
It used to
comment.
be called Doble Court.
Yeah. Okay, so John has no comment.
I think it's safe to say we'd like to see it. With the panels?
Well, Val's drawing it up right now if you want to wait a minute.
I'm just,
He's on the payroll.
Yeah.
I'm
is my
trying to
ghost-
think
this
of
is my
where to
ghostwriter.
point Abby at one to look at.
Yeah, just show me your drawing.
No, because,
You have that?
Go ahead,
It needs to
just
be
flip it over.
resolved though.
what?
That center
I guess
window
they need
one.
majority, right? So, no offense,
Oh, that with brackets and stuff?
No. Who
Joe,
can,
I think your,
I think I know.
personally, I think your west elevation is gonna need a little bit of work on terms
Is
of
that all gonna be wood
the
too?
panels,
I'm gonna walk around.
how you're gonna apply them under the windows and stuff.
Yeah, this one I can work out.
Yeah.
Larger panels, sorry.
So I would just suggest we get
so
up.
these are, it's,
Revision.
One thing just,
it's
yeah,
like,
one thing that just occurred to me
just a wood panel.
is, in my mind, when I see those panels, they're always
Right.
painted.
White, yeah.
And can you actually do that out of natural wood and pull it off? Like, I actually can't think of a natural wood panel
Yeah, usually they're
outside
painted.
anywhere. Yeah, usually they're painted.
Oh yeah, this is all natural trim.
It's all natural.
They're sticking with that, right?
Well, maybe that will change. No?
Not as I have people the rest of the house now.
Yeah, I think that,
So maybe then just shingle it.
That's the thread that keeps coming.
well, so if we shingle it and it all stays natural, I think that's pretty
Yeah.
safe to do,
Mm-hmm.
right?
Yeah.
All right,
I'm
so
with all that,
what do you think?
I'm good with that.
Okay, shall we move it along?
Motion to approve with the vertical boards to become shingle.
I mean, what is that?
Through
Wisconsin
staff.
Advisory.
Yeah.
I'm gonna hold that motion just for a second. Did Wisconsin Advisory have anything to say?
They did not typically, oh no, I guess they do. I don't know.
Did you say they did?
They did not review it, no.
Not
I was
review.
trying to think, it is in their area that they reviewed.
Well, my own opinion is that it's not hugely controversial. We all seem to be comfortable with the design, with the small revision to shingle from the vertical board. So now I'm going to entertain Val's motion, which is to approve this, changing the vertical, natural red cedar vertical board siding to white cedar shingle siding. All those in favor of Val's motion?
Aye.
Okay. Thanks, Joe. See you later. Okay, here we go, workshop. 9 o'clock.
I think we can beat 9
We're
o'clock.
just gonna relax.
Chill out. We got all the time in the world.
How are you guys? Welcome.
How are you guys doing?
America jinxed us. She said shortest meeting ever.
I know, that's what I was thinking when I looked at it Sunday. I was like, oh my god.
Well,
Like,
don't
we'll be
jinx
out of
it.
here by
It's not even 6 o'clock
5:15.
yet.
I was thinking 5:30.
I know.
I thought we'd
You're
be
gonna
done at
take- You're gonna need
5:15.
an hour for your wind farm thing.
I got nothing to say.
Okay, what happened?
Really?
No.
ACRAT's filed their 17-page
We'll have it up.
deposition
Where's
today.
the wind farm?
This is,
600 wind turbines?
Vineyard Wind.
Oh, so a whole new group coming in?
Yes.
To do it?
Well,
Off the
there's like
South
5
Shore.
quadrants.
The flotsam on the horizon.
Yeah.
Really?
For the whole, I'll send you some information.
Are you serious? Really?
Yeah.
I'm having bumper stickers made.
Gigantic.
Overall, it's
And
gonna,
also
it's gonna
ironic.
span our whole horizon to the south.
Are you serious?
Yeah.
Yeah.
They asking for everything, hoping you get a little piece, or
You should get a ham radio so you can listen to the broadcast.
I
up
listen to the
here.
radio station at work on my computer all the time.
We haven't heard anything about it.
This is
radio.
only making the local news.
And because of the government shutdown, they didn't have the meeting
Oh,
here, it got
Oh, no.
canceled.
But
Yeah,
these meetings are at the tail end of the process, not the beginning.
right.
Okay, folks, we are now on Westerwood, hopefully not for another pool.
This is
no, these are just revisions to the house.
Yeah, you're not on this, Ray.
Oh,
Here last
right,
time.
old business, okay,
I'm not
This is,
so,
McLaughlin, Camp,
Oh, I know.
Oliver, and Welch.
there you go, everybody.
Much improved.
Yeah, I mean, we did everything
you.
everybody asked for.
I immediately recognized the change.
Yeah, we did the beam across the front porch, we changed the brackets.
Oh, wait.
What page you on, A201?
Fourth page in.
201, John.
Thank you.
There you go, you're right there. So on the south elevation, the comments were, we had originally had side lights on the front door. We changed it to a Dutch door with a 4-light window in it. the request was to add a beam on the underside of the fascia coming across the covered porch to bring the height down. We did. We modified the brackets, made them a little smaller, not so, I guess, farm-like was the term. We modified the chimney height, chimney cap. That's it for that elevation. If you turn, then go to the west and east elevation. The west elevation is really just the front porch and the chimney. And then on the east, we removed a third window that was in either side of the dormer. And we changed the shoulders on the chimney and modified the chimney cap. And that was it.
Who's on this again?
You are, Madam Chair. Aren't you?
And you three. Everybody but Ray.
I'm the only one not on it, yeah.
Oh. All right. Is John on this?
Yeah, sure. Everyone except Ray.
Would you like to speak?
Yes.
Well, please do.
The location is fine with me. One thing I can find it, I find that when the original HTC started, there was hundreds of houses here, it still is. But this door, where it's got the boarding, similar to a storm door. And the fact that it's cut, when you see them half open and half shut, is not typical to what was in Nantucket. It may have been over west somewhere, but it's not Nantucket, you know?
Yep.
I just think there ought to be changed to something more in the neighborhood. And if we put a 6-panel door or something, you know? That way anybody making delivery don't have to go around the back with the front door. Because I'm only one out of 5 people.
Is this a residence or is it a recreation?
This is a home.
Is that it, John?
It's a screen.
Screens?
Yeah, it's a screen-in porch in
John,
the back.
is that it for the front door? Did you have any other comments on it?
So that would take a
Valerie?
I'm fine with it. I like those doors.
Yeah.
What are the colors?
I don't know.
They were gray. Didn't you say gray?
Yeah.
Probably gray.
Quaker gray trim, Quaker gray sash, and
Awesome.
black doors, wood roof.
Yeah, gray on gray, black door.
And so everything else, like the dormers and the chimney, you're okay? I still think that the chimney looks a little heavy duty, in some profiles, like north, but then. You are?
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
please.
Oh, I'm good with it. Appreciate the changes. I will point out on your, looks like a CAD layer thing, your north elevation, so your gang windows on the lowest, looks like perhaps it's a porch shed roof. That looks like they're plank frame windows, but I don't think that that was your intention. Just if you look at the south and the north elevations,
There were from the first time. They didn't review it the second time.
I noticed and I was trying to figure out, these just are, your casings look like they're 1.5 or 2 inches.
Oh, they scaled down on those windows, maybe?
Yeah,
Okay.
you
Yeah,
just
that's
may want to correct that for
Yep.
posterity's sake. I have no concerns, again, I appreciate the changes.
Do I hear a motion then?
Motion to approve is submitted.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
But put a sign up for the serviceman. For the serviceman, so it doesn't go around the back.
How did Johnny vote?
John,
John, how are you voting?
John, how are you voting?
favor. In favor. In favor.
In favor?
Oh,
Thank you.
okay.
We might be out of here by 9.
Did Ray leave?
No,
No,
he's right out there.
I said I'm out of here.
Well, now we should come back with
Yeah,
new
so
business.
the next series of applications are 3 a collection of 3 outbuildings for one of the homes that you previously approved several months ago.
Are they signing this?
And you already approved the site plan showing where all the buildings were gonna go. So,
So we approve these, we just have to technically say we approve them.
they're all 1 story, they're pretty simple, but yes, you need to approve them.
Alright, here are
We're voting upright. 2 copies for additional.
Is this really Edgartown? Did you really?
I have no damage, I can't write.
So you guys, what I just said is the next 3 applications are a collection of 3 small outbuildings for the first house that was approved in this development. The site plan was already approved by the board, so all of the buildings had already been shown in their positions. This is just, it's a garage, a shed, and then a sort of cabana structure for the initial house. They're all 1-story buildings.
Okay, so we got our garage.
Do we
just
have
down
what the
here.
main building looks like, just for reference?
We can look it up.
I can pull up on the iPad.
We can hold up on the iPad, Val, so we just pass it around.
Can we please look at this?
The house has this sort of asymmetrical gable that we tried to bring into the garage a little bit.
Could you say what you said before about the green part of it?
So the house was approved,
Yeah.
the site plan was approved, showing all the 3 structures. So they're all 1 story, so it's a 1-story garage here, 1-story shed here, and a 1-story cabana there.
Oh, I see.
And the house was this asymmetrical gable. Michael will
Got it.
try to find it. That we had the rafter tails and all that kind of stuff on. So it was a pretty simple building. It actually got approved first night.
I don't remember.
Maybe on, oh, is it like a programming I was looking for?
No,
I'll
we
pull it up on the
Let me-
previously submitted.
I don't have my iPad.
More with that technology.
Here, I'll just throw it up on the big screen.
Okay, and
Yeah.
do you have,
Oh,
are the roof pitch, like the roof pitch
Yeah,
is the
see,
same?
It's the
That's
same.
hard,
It's the
we
same
don't
rate. It
have-
was a shallow pit. It was a shallower pitch.
Eight.
Be able to put it
Yep.
up there, and we didn't have to flip
that'd
through
be
all these damn pages.
so
And
cool.
these little,
Rafter
rafter
Tails.
tails,
That was the
that's
spacing
all
that
the
we had.
same,
Yep.
Same elevation.
okay. And I don't
It might have been something that was on
really
a few lists
care, but
when
I
it
will
came up,
simply
if we can
ask
pull
you
that
what
up.
the
I'll
trim
pull it up
color
right
is.
Yeah,
Okay.
wait, what's the trim color?
I actually don't
The trim color on
I
there?
don't
Gray
either.
sash,
And
natural
because
trim.
the site plan was
Gray
with the
door.
house, doesn't.
Quaker gray
Yeah.
sash, natural trim. Everybody hear that?
Quaker gray,
Sash.
natural.
Quaker
Natural
gray
trim.
sash, natural trim. So, you know, really low impact.
Why do you do that? Why do you do like natural with the gray?
Because when the trim grays out, it just disappears.
Yeah.
I hate white with natural trim. It looks like so cheap and terrible.
Not the
Well,
best.
Why?
It wasn't necessarily because of that.
Oh, right.
No, I'm
Yeah.
just trying, so,
We do the natural trim because it's cost us money to build. It's a spec house, right? So that's one reason to do it. And then it looks the
So
best,
this-
in my opinion, long term with the gray with the gray sash.
Is, right, you see, look at this.
When you
the
say
same as when you
why
look at this.
gray
Yes.
sash with
This one.
natural
Yes.
trim,
I
why are you asking the question? Because I'm just super curious.
don't think I've ever seen it.
Oh, you see it all the time.
Do I?
Oh,
You don't realize you see
You-
it, Abby. It's everywhere.
Like where?
Well, so, okay, you can't,
I think it's gonna be fine.
I mean,
one,
well,
one, one thing that needs saying, doors and window sash have to be
Yeah.
painted. You can't leave those natural.
Show you the house.
They would just, they'd totally destroy.
And I like that.
So you have to paint it. And so if you're doing natural trim, you have to paint the windows something. And so to Andrew's point, which I completely agree with, is when all that trim grays out, then the contrast between the window sash and the window casing is minimized, even though one's painted and one's natural.
And then there's all this,
Oh, thank you.
It's about as low impact as you
As you
can
can
get.
go, right.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
and
Nice.
they're making
Maybe
dunes.
Yeah, I'm just not a big fan of the natural to weather, so, and in Sconset, I don't see it a lot, so I'm used to seeing, painted.
In fact, the original application was for black sash, and you all wanted us to change it to gray.
Black sash with natural
Yeah,
trim?
that's what we originally came in with, and it was changed to gray.
So
Some
this
people
has a
were not
rural
fond of-
Sconset character.
I think that's what it was, Steve. That was like the comment. Black was like a little too
Harsh,
Rural
yeah, no,
kind
I
of
think I
Sconset
said
Yeah.
that,
hybrid.
yeah.
I mean, not a gray palette would really
I just,
sort of
I think it would look great with the whole thing gray.
We're
sash as
we're
well,
trying
but-
to. I think we said this the first time we came in with this. If you've all been out there, the few houses that are built there are kind of just very typical and sort of formal. We're trying to bring a more sort of old world, eclectic vibe Sconset to the whole development as the however 35 some odd lots get built out over the next.
How many are built? Do you have any?
It's like there's like
Not
seven,
many,
six
right?
six
There's
houses
6 houses.
clustered right in that middle section of it.
So where would you say that house was? That when you say old world Wisconsin?
Do you have our
with-
images
with
from
just
last time that were part of
with
the view
just-
pack?
Wood, like,
It used to be the water tower area
Honestly, it's when you turn
20 years ago.
whatever the road you turn off Milestone to go to get out here. That I don't even know. There's all these older, cool, eclectic houses that have like asymmetrical gables and funky dormers and porches, and they're actually really interesting looking. And that's kind of what we've
In
used as our
Sconset?
inspiration in Sconset. Yep.
I think you'll get there.
Yeah, 'cause these were all there, so.
When you drive down Maury Lane, you get a real
Broadway,
flavor
Ginger?
for that.
So,
Broadway.
Think about Maury.
Is
are
that
we
the road?
approving
one house
the
that has
the dunes?
Not that
You approved the landscape plan already,
Did you say
Val,
no
I
one?
believe,
just one,
for the house.
that's near Hedgebury, on the right. That's the
I
only
don't
one
remember
know. I
that.
can't think
That's
of
when you
any.
just
I
approved
mean,
the
I was
pool with
referencing
no decking,
Maury
no patio, no
because of the
anything.
eclectic kind
The
of.
site plan that
Oh,
showed
Like
the
the
one
one
at
at
the
corner of
I mean, it's
Maury
impossible
and,
to
just no
remember
trim, I think.
everything.
Yeah, yeah,
It was
yeah.
like right before Christmas, I think.
It is a cost.
So if there's thing that isn't approved, John will pick it up and they'll come in and get them approved.
Yeah,
or
but this is
reviewed.
a significant thing, putting in 2,500 square foot dune.
Yeah, no, I'm saying it will have to come in for a review if it hasn't been approved, right?
Yeah, I remember the,
So Val, we have
I'm with
yet,
ya.
so we've done an entire master plan for a whole new streetscape coming down the entire development that we've gone, the planning, like, we still have to come to HDC to get a lot of this. There's a whole dunescape that we're bringing down the entire road to sort of merge it with the beachscape rather than this
Are we
paved road.
talking about this?
You know, Val's asking about the dune, like
Well,
stretching
yeah,
out to the
because
road.
now,
plan.
whenever
Did you see
we
the-
say yes to something, somehow we've said yes to everything. And I don't
We
remember,
will be applying for the street improvements.
Yeah, the street improvement dunes, Val, that are like hugging the street there will be a whole master plan for
This
the
thing?
project. Yes.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah,
alright,
Okay.
so what is the gray thing?
that's the pool.
No,
The dark
in
green.
front of the house.
Looks like a wall.
Is there some retainage up there near the driveway, guys?
It's a hedge up.
It's a hedge.
Oh, okay.
It's a very,
A gray
Formal
natural to
cut
weather
hedge.
hedge?
Yeah, it's a hedge.
There's actually a number of hedges just like that on Canterbury.
it just didn't look like a plant material, that's all.
Yeah. Guys, so just to stay on track here, we are at the moment reviewing the garage, and that's it. So if we approve the garage or make comments on the garage, we're not in any way implying that we're approving this landscape. That's a separate application.
Okay.
But this gets us in the mood, this whole conversation, to understand what we're trying to do.
We have a whole
Your
image
design
presentation of the
drawing is so
dunescape.
holistic that we kind of have to know everything before we
Yes,
approve
thank you, Ray.
I'm in the mood to make a motion.
Are you?
I am.
Speed it up.
Well, wait a second.
Gotta stretch it till 9 people.
It's like, come on, you're killing me.
Meeting.
What? Next week?
Hold it.
Oh, well, I think Steve was gonna make a motion to approve it.
Not the landscaping,
I-
just the building.
Okay, I'm gonna make a motion then, since, has everyone made their comments or no? Because if you haven't, then I don't wanna.
I'm
cut anyone
fine,
off.
but I wanna make sure that John's fine.
Fine.
You're okay? Okay, so then go ahead.
So the motion is to approve the garage is submitted without the landscaping.
Right.
Approved. Simple as that.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Motion. One down.
And if you want to attach to the next building, it would be fine for you to add that any topographic change along the streetscape is not approved for this house and will be attached and subject to
Oh,
a
you
whole
bet
master
we're gonna
plan.
do that.
Yeah.
That's,
Get the stapler
More
out.
words.
that's fine. I mean,
What did you
we're
say
gonna
about
come. We
that?
have to come.
Yeah.
Just,
I'm just trying to give some comfort. That's
Yep.
all.
It does beg the question, though. You know, I occasionally open other HTC applications that people submit, and they all seem to submit a lot less content than we put in our applications.
We hold
For
you to a
example,
higher standard.
people
Yeah.
don't submit floor plans. They just give elevations in the site plan. I've seen tons. I open them.
they're supposed to give floor plans.
Oh, maybe it's just the view pack
We have a
plans get
certain-
taken out.
Yeah, they
oh,
do.
sorry, that's what it is. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
It's
I'm always like, what?
No,
more
it's,
information, more questions on the front.
Yeah, we've learned that.
Yeah.
I'm well aware of that.
wait, so this is for what? This one?
This is maybe the
Cabana.
cabana that's in the back of the property. You can't
It's your
really see it.
swimsuits out.
I like that.
I do too.
Cute. Oh, man, I have a feeling that I saw this already.
Well,
Oh, it
it's
looks
like
just
the
like the
place in
garage.
Hawthorne. He has
Well,
that
no,
open.
that little cutaway this.
Yeah,
Solar panel.
we're working
No,
on it.
that's
we did that
a-
with Hawthorne. Val, you're right.
Slit in the roof. Is that on both sides?
Yes.
What, is it got glass in it? Or
No,
it's
it's
just-
just open to the sky.
Yeah, now,
It's the outdoor shower.
Oh,
It's the shower
I have no concern.
and the entry.
no, but so the weird thing about that is like it's totally transparent.
Yeah.
It's cut out on both sides, so it would almost look like a roof that was not finished.
No, the wall goes up the whole middle.
We have the wall going all the way up.
It's,
Oh, okay,
it-
okay, got it. That's good, that makes a big difference. There's that.
So it's
All right.
open to the sky?
Yeah, well, it's, you know,
It's an
an
outdoor
enclosed,
shower.
not enclosed shower.
Yeah.
What are they gonna think of that?
They paint the wall gray.
Thinking of ways to break the rules. Did I say that out loud?
No, nobody heard it.
It looks like this.
What do you think, guys?
It looks like
Motion
that.
to approve.
Oh, that's
Mind if
cool.
I speak?
Dynamite, huh?
Oh, okay.
Thank you.
Yeah.
If it is visible,
Yeah,
see-through effect.
well, so John, we were just talking about
John.
that.
This
There's
is
a wall-
really
The wall
Yeah.
goes all the way up in there.
Well, this doesn't actually show,
It doesn't show the wall.
Yeah, but
No.
oversized,
hey, so,
skylight.
well, it's actually not, it's show what, John? It's
Like
more,
house
it's,
down.
yeah, it's like a,
It's just like the framing is
pergola
there
kind
with
of.
no sheathing on it.
Can you see, are you gonna be able to see
But there's a
that thing?
wall that goes up the middle, so you actually can't see through it.
It's gonna look
All
like a
right, that's
skylight.
one section, but how about the
You're not
other
gonna see it.
section?
Yeah, there's a wall, so you can't see through it.
I just read that, I understand that.
Yeah.
The fact that that's oversized, if you're gonna say that's anything but a skylight.
It's not a skylight, it's an open trellis attached to the, it's a gable trellis on the building.
Show me another one in Canterbury.
Oh, there's another one in
yeah,
Canterbury.
you're not gonna find one. So where is that detail in relation to the roof?
It's in the
In the
back.
back. It's in the back of the building in
Okay.
the back, which abuts up to conservation land.
I'm speaking
Yes,
on,
sir.
on behalf of all of Nantucket.
Yeah.
Compared to this, such a design, as those large openings, you know, there aren't any, I can't find any. And I just think it ought to be one skylight up there, maybe on one side or the other, or one on the opposite sides. You know, but I just think it's gonna start a precedent. Others see it and say, hey, I want it enclosed too, except for the shower.
Well, the only thing that I think is true is if you look at the site plan, that detail that we're talking about is basically all the way at the back of the property. It's away from Canterbury.
Is the
So-
one on Hawthorne built?
Over
Yeah,
here.
Val, you can drive through and see it.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
built.
It is.
John, they did the same thing at Hawthorne off of Hummock Pond Road. Go by and look at it.
Yeah, it looks great.
And it's all natural trim. It's the cabana building. It's built.
Well, no, but
It's
you
all
can
there.
see it
You can
then.
see it.
The communal,
Yeah, the communal building. You can see it in
Okay,
it.
but if you come down Canterbury,
you can't see the details.
right,
No, because all
It's
natural
here.
disappears in the roof.
Right there, yeah.
I'll watch for it.
It's up in that corner, right?
Yeah.
So what says you can't see it from Canterbury?
Can't.
It's back about 175
Anderson
feet.
says you can't see it.
You can't.
They're building dunes.
I'm just saying, precedent's scary.
No,
More
I
than anything on this board.
totally,
Understood.
I totally
And-
appreciate that.
And you know, as I say, everybody wants something different, it's not, I think we're heading in the wrong direction when we do that, that's all. Like, if whether it's closed in or open, the only thing that matters to is the owner.
I don't think
It
anybody
matters
else is
to
gonna
me
want one
that
of
it's
these,
historic,
John.
It's not historical.
So,
That's a real
I don't know,
backhand.
it's just one of the things that.
no, I get it. Can we,
See,
can we safely approve this subject to a lack of visibility in that area, those open roof trellises?
what's called some circumvention. You know?
I mean, I guess when it's all great, you can't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just.
I mean, when this house is up,
Yeah, right.
yeah, and it faces the street, perpendicular to the street.
It's on the left side of the road going down, right? Going down Canterbury.
It's on the south side of the road,
That's
yeah.
well.
It's closer to the Navy base.
Well, here's Canterbury right here.
Yeah.
Right. There's north that way. Right? So
It's west.
why couldn't you go down Canterbury and look from Canterbury, where are we?
Canterbury's here.
Canterbury, coming down here,
The house was.
right straight through here.
Cause it's here.
Should be here. I'm only super guessing. You know.
I mean, I think your visual perspective with the shingles, it would be.
This is the roof. You're hitting the roof here, so it's at the far side of the roof. There's gonna be a structure here, right? Somewhere, or no?
Can't
It's
look
yeah,
over
there
here.
is. There is. It's a one-story building, but yeah.
Just to be safe, why don't you eliminate one and just keep the top one?
Because we would like them both to be, one of them's the pool equipment and one of them's the outdoor shower.
This one is visible. I haven't
How about this?
been back out there to think about this.
How about this? If John's okay approving one, take the one that the shower is in, pool equipment,
Put a vented
when you're
door.
framing it up, come back to us when it's framed,
Yeah, snap a
and
picture.
then we'll, listen.
That's true.
If I
See if we
had
can
to
see
put
it.
money on
Okay.
this one, I'd put money
Yeah,
on
you
that
can't
it was
see.
not
Fine.
gonna be
Done.
done.
Or get the approval back on, based on lack of visibility, and if it's visible, close it in, cause you're gonna have to close it in anyway.
Do
Yeah,
that.
that's
Fine.
better.
It's easier to just put plywood over the top of it if it doesn't work out.
Yeah,
Okay.
and then come in
Can we
and
do
say,
that?
oh, we're gonna close it.
All right, now if the guy across the street, you say lack of visibility, and he builds it,
No,
and the guy across the street builds a house,
Well, wait a minute,
no, John.
Well-
So what this is gonna be is, if it's visible, they have to cover it over.
yeah, if it's
That's-
visible, they have to cover it over. They're
Yeah.
doing what you said, if it's visible, they're gonna
That's
cover the
fair.
one up.
That's fair.
Okay? And then when,
Alright.
you know, you guys will get it framed up and it'll be
Okay.
pretty obvious, maybe you have
Great.
to add a shrub or
That's not
something.
circumvention.
Okay, so,
Motion to approve with,
can't stick to him.
with that stipulation.
yeah, so the motion is to approve this with the stipulation that if the, open rafters are visible at the time of framing from a public way, they will need to be closed. All those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, and then you guys can come back if there's any
Okay.
issues with it. Okay, 115 Washington.
Chairman, I'll go to the
One more Canterbury.
Oh,
Oh, we got this.
no, they're gonna close it off
Oh,
if,
we have to write,
okay, it's fair, it's
That's
okay.
Is that Cabana?
yeah,
Or-
what,
or-
how did you
no.
say it? Write it on.
being seen.
Oh.
If they get it built, that guy's gonna sue us to.
No, if it's visible, when they frame it up, then they have to cover it.
All right. They build it. All right, it's already, it's built, say, in August, okay? You build it in August.
Yeah, the shed is next.
Time wise, huh?
Oh,
So you build it, all right, and you build it in August, all right?
Yeah.
All right, and then we drive down Canterbury and we can see it.
No, you
It's
never
already
did
been built,
garage and
okay?
a cabana.
This is the part that I come apart. Nip it in the bud, is the old saying.
Ready?
Well, but the other thing is, when they finish it, if they finished it and it's visible, and John goes out there, and he's standing on Canterbury looking over, and he sees it, he's not gonna sign off on it.
And if we've learned anything, John is a real stickler signing stuff off.
John definitely.
Which John?
This John's
Well,
a bit of a
both
hard
of them.
ass.
Either, you can go out there and look at
Okay,
it.
so did I goof something here?
No, we're just on the shed.
Shed, yeah.
It's a shed.
I-
Johnny, how did you vote on that?
he
I
was-
voted no, I'm still gonna stand
Okay.
by it, no?
All righty.
Fair enough,
No,
John.
we're gonna make
again?
sure that John doesn't see that damn thing.
Here's the shred.
If I have to camp out there
And I
at
was
night.
posted in April, but I won't get reelected.
You'll
Oh,
get rid
Oh.
of
what's the likelihood of that?
Shed.
Possibility.
You know, a friend of mine
John,
said-
you were the only stable on this board over my 20 years
Just
coming
send
here,
you
so.
The letter. we
Okay.
sent
Oh, cool,
home
thank you.
today.
Okay, shed.
No raptor tails.
No rocket?
I think the idea is
You
to
can
make it
present
different and
it, 'cause
eclectic,
I've
like it
already
was.
had
Okay.
From
Is it
each,
intentionally no
use
raptor
the
tails
whole-
on the shed?
Okay. We all, are we okay with the
No, we
shed?
want raptor tails. Can we make a motion to approve with matching raptor tails? I made a mistake.
Which what?
All right.
On the shed.
To match the house and the.
They don't have any
Yeah.
raptor tails.
That was Abby's motion, I thought.
Well, it is now. I didn't say anything.
Are we already done with the shed?
Yeah.
Wait a second. John hasn't seen it yet.
Oh, I thought you folded it up.
Here. See?
Oh, I thought you folded it up already.
With raptor tails.
Doesn't have one of those funny roofs
It's
on
3
it.
miles away from me.
It's a shed.
That's how we should look at all of these. Put it up there.
I thought you were doing that.
No raptor tails.
Putting stuff
With-
up on
we
the
want it
screen
with
there.
We should.
Do you see it, John?
Big complicated.
What is that, what's the definition for that small window?
Fixed.
Definition is fixed.
Fixed.
There you go.
Thank you.
Okay.
Fixed.
Motion to approve.
With
Okay,
raptor tails,
with
right?
raptor
And I
tails.
just sent you the.
Okay, all those in favor of Abby's motion?
Aye.
Aye.
Oh,
Okay.
cool. Give me one.
Now we're gonna move on
I'll buy
down to
one.
Washington Street.
Send one to
Really-
Andrew.
I have a really quick question.
Yes,
Are the raptor tails on the plan, or is this through staff? They
Through
have put
staff.
together?
through staff.
Thank you.
Modification on
You didn't want to sign it? She's getting there.
How about you? Been there and come back.
Do you think it's safe?
I've been there.
I think this is the line. I mean,
This should be a fairly easy conversation. We were sort of surprised it didn't make it on consent. We're actually removing on the east elevation what was a French door, and we're converting it to a 6-light awning window. On the
These
second
things
building.
are huge in framing.
you have
It's a-
to,
There's a pond.
This is all, this was a door,
High rises, right?
Yeah.
this was a door, and we're
Here.
just changing it to
I'm
that
not
6-light
voting on
unit.
oh, I like that better.
That's it?
That's it.
And you did all of this for just that?
Well, we have to, right?
Yes.
Somebody has a better way for us to do it, we're happy to do it.
I can't wait for that change in policy to come about.
John, are you gonna make the motion? Cause I will if you don't want to.
Steven, you wanna just show, John the change from the,
John, all we're changing, is this was a
Oh, I
door,
couldn't see
a
the.
glass door, that we're changing to a 6-light window to match that window. That's all we're here for.
What's this like?
That's the flood line, that's a whole other,
That's the dumbest law I ever saw.
well, we didn't make it.
No.
Motion to approve.
all right. Is that your first motion tonight?
Thanks,
All
John.
those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Very good. Okay, last thing.
So the,
205 Eagle
I'm
Point.
not voting on that one,
Which one?
the one we just voted on,
Why?
So you
because
abstain.
I don't want to.
Okay, so you abstain. There's
Yeah,
no
I'm
problem.
abstaining.
To
It's
abstain.
fine.
I didn't abstain.
No, you mentioned you can abstain. You don't have to abstain.
Comes out of the
You say I'm not
roll, it's
voting.
like blowing your nose with
Um,
sand.
Yeah, so this
Not-
is, we withdrew the previous application for this and resubmitted it, and there's, different people sitting on it now. Some of you will recall the conversation a few months ago regarding a cabana structure and the fact that we removed the chimney
Yeah,
and we're replacing it with the
Now I
French
do.
doors.
yeah.
So we're here back for the same thing.
You have like a pre-working board
Yeah,
or
we're-
something. All right.
So we're hoping,
Wow, thanks.
Oh, you're welcome.
Yeah, very good.
They're
Ooh,
on sale.
Yeah.
so.
okay.
I'll explain what, so we had we're removing a chimney that was previously approved. We're removing a window here, there used to be 3,
Hey,
and we're
Andrew.
asking for 2, yeah.
Can you just back up and
Yeah.
remind everybody that this is the renovated building?
This is the old building
Correct.
that
That
we
doesn't-
repositioned
Bear
just
any
saying.
resemblance to.
and
Well, no,
dropped
I mean, the
there.
fenestration's all changed.
And so this is what we had before, we're removing the chimney and adding the other door.
It's too much fenestration.
Why are you getting rid of the chimney? I love the chimney. I thought it was so cool.
I know,
It's
that
way too much fenestration.
we did too, I mean,
It wasn't the original chimney, it was a new.
yeah, it was a new one
Yeah, it was a
anyway,
new
so.
chimney.
So
Yeah,
Steve, you're the new person here, that this half of the table was sort of fine with it, the other half wasn't.
Ah, I see, I'm the split vote.
Yeah.
That's what
And
happens in a
Swing vote, if
democracy.
you will.
Like, our opinion is that while there is a lot of glazing on this building, that from a distance, the addition of this panel is not
Let
really
me
that
pull up the
impactful.
building. I have a picture of it.
Do
From
you?
The
the
one that
water.
we went.
The side
went
facing the
out
water
to-
is not changed other than the.
Yeah, this is the
Well-
one we went out to see, remember?
So your north
But-
elevation.
So there's the face on from the water and there's also the oblique.
Right, the face on is unchanged.
Right.
And that is south, the face of,
That is west, actually.
oh,
Yeah, that face.
oh,
And then,
this is the one we went to see, right? Val?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, why do you have to have so much fenestration?
Well, the north, I mean, I
1,
think-
2, 3, 4, 5, 6 on this tiny little building.
I have some bad news for you, Abby.
It's
That
not,
was already approved.
Last time, Abby, you didn't have an issue with with this change.
well, I just remembered that you can see it from the beach.
okay, can I ask a question?
Sure, Steve.
The north faces the primary structure?
Yeah.
Correct.
Okay, so then the
And there's
south,
all hedge there and you won't
Faces.
really see into it.
Here,
on the south side?
here
On
is
the
what you
north
see
side.
from the beach.
Oh, okay, I thought you were supplementing.
That's such a great form. I
I
can't
know,
believe we're getting
it's
rid of
nice.
it.
Okay, so I guess my comments would be, I haven't done a view on this in a long time. I know there were some concerns about, and legitimate, concerns about some of the design elements. I think that the north elevation is fine. And I think that the south elevation would benefit from keeping the chimney form. Now, I could go out and take a view and see if the chimney form really needs to be there in the
It's not
context of the
there,
hall.
the doors are in.
Oh,
Oh, right.
Yeah, it's done.
oh, okay.
Forgot
Hey,
about that.
so
That's
Val-
part of our,
I'm sorry.
All right, okay, I didn't understand that.
Do your
Go ahead.
photographs actually show that part of this, or were they taken before any of that took place?
Good question. It wasn't all the way.
I think it was
Look
already
at the-
done when
it's
we
been,
went out
when we
there.
were here last time, it was pretty, it hasn't advanced that much out. The landscaping and hardscaping has advanced, but nothing on the buildings has advanced.
I guess what I'm asking,
Here is,
are the windows in?
Yes.
Yeah,
This is from the beach looking back.
Well, that's what we're talking about right there.
yeah,
You know, and that's when the vegetation is like
Yeah.
totally denuded.
Yeah, here, I mean, here's straight on, I mean, I don't know what Val's put in, right, but, yeah, I mean, it's straight on, like, that's not from the beach, that's
Right.
actually from the property.
Right, but I mean,
So-
see
Yeah,
this,
that's what I'm
Andrew?
saying, it's not,
I mean, look, I love the, like Abby, I really love the chimney.
we did too.
And the chimney's beautiful, but the addition of the fenestration, I mean, in my view,
Is
unless
non-
you crawl up into
Yeah.
those, that scrub, you ain't
Yeah,
gonna
not
see.
seeing it.
Yeah.
Like, to John's point, you know, you see everything above the second floor or above the first floor, but you don't see the first floor here at all. That's in the wintertime.
Well, that's not, I didn't keep going down the beach in front of it.
Ah.
So the chimney form, although beneficial, is not a requirement, is my opinion.
For you.
Correct.
Yeah.
At this point. If you didn't have windows in and this was from scratch,
It's, yeah.
you know, I do, you know, as I said, I think it's beneficial, but I don't, it's not a make or break on the whole design of the layout and the other structures that are built. It's not like there aren't any other chimneys there.
Mr. Chair, can
Yes,
I
sir.
make a
I mean,
comment?
yes, ma'am.
I'm trying to bite my tongue and I can't.
No, go ahead.
There's a resident of
Yep,
owner of property on Nantucket,
yep.
saying that that won't be visible when the shrub grows in isn't true. If it's not visible because of growth, and the growth that's there is not natural to Nantucket. Nantucket is very low growth,
Well,
very open, and it will be visible.
I hear what you're saying, but the photograph that Val showed me is the native vegetation,
That's not on our property.
which isn't even on their property. She sort of, you know, so, the side that faces directly to the harbor, that's the west elevation.
Right.
I didn't see a photograph of, maybe Val has that, but that's not the side that they're revising. They're revising the south elevation, which you're looking at diagonally across the neighbor's property. And the land sort of rises up and there's all this kind of scrub, it looks like Rosa rugosa and stuff there that has no foliage on it right now. And the way the bluff is, do you mind showing?
No,
Terry?
where it is seen is farther away across the
Here,
harbor.
Terry, look,
Yeah, it's over near Mr. Rogers' house where you can see it.
Terry, look, here's
When
the
you-
When
aerial.
you
that
get
bay and you
out, I
look
stay
at the
around
rest
the
of it.
waters all
Okay,
the time.
Terry, here's the aerial. So this is all the natural growth here. We haven't done
Right.
anything to all that, and it comes all the way across.
And I have photos taken from the water where it is all very visible in the summer.
Okay.
When you're out on that water, the whole perspective becomes this.
Yeah.
You're not on the
This is all
beach
natural
looking up at this
vegetation.
angle.
It's the
You're now back here, looking at that angle, and that harbor is publicly traveled way.
No, I
And,
completely
and that's
agree.
what I'm trying to protect here, is that
Mhm.
publicly traveled way. Very heavily, we're dodging boats all year.
Yeah,
So, yes, when you're standing on the beach doing this, and you're looking up the Rosa rugosa and scrub oak and et cetera, it's gonna be hard to see. But you step farther and farther back and get out on the water, and it's going to be visible.
trying to think of how I get out
I
of the
just
water.
want that
Now.
point to be on the record.
What did Nantucket Advisory have to say?
They didn't review
Well,
this.
so when was this project done? Well, I mean, like the
When
whole
when did you
building?
approve it?
Yeah,
Oh,
A year plus ago?
yeah.
because I think the problem is not this little house, it's the massiveness of the whole entirety of it that I think, you know, is the objection.
I think it's actually a very tasteful looking building compared to other ones that I
Well,
see along
right-
the water.
right now
and I
it's-
travel the water on the island all the time. And I think-
It's fresh shingles right now,
Yeah.
so when you look at, you know, Mr. Rogers' house, there's a little beach there. When you sit at that beach and you look back, you can see the mass, the
Yeah,
expanse
it's
of
all
it.
dirt. There's the landscape
it's-
isn't in.
So
It's
the,
not a judgment of what if tasteful or not tasteful. It's in its entirety. It's huge.
Yeah,
building.
but that started that
Right.
started last
vault,
year.
yeah.
when
Yeah.
we passed it.
so the concerns I alluded to were the concerns not just Terry's, but others that have been brought forth. And again, what we're looking here is at the chimney, my comments are with respect to what will or won't be visible above the roof line, which is the chimney, which is, I think, the only thing that'll be visible. The north faces the now existing primary structure, and the south is on the first floor. I want to reiterate this, we're talking about the view that does not face the ocean directly.
Right, correct,
Which has the most fenestration on it,
correct,
already approved,
right.
which I'm not suggesting I agree with, but it is what it is. So.
This is the most frustration.
Yeah, that's what he means. He says that's not under consideration right now. Have you spoken on this yet, John?
Not yet,
Go for it.
okay. I've been out there quite a few times down the end of that road. Anyway, looking across there, you can see how much length there is in the south elevation, you know, whether they're connected or not, they're that far away. But as far as this here, I think you should leave these two there and take the middle one out. Because if we got a ruling from town council, the travel way, public way, and a travel way. The travel way is a public way if it's approved by the subdivision control law. And this was controlled by the planning board, and it was passed on to us. So my estimation, a driveway, I agree, I'm not gonna get a lawsuit over a driveway, but I agree, it is a travel way. And if you drive up to this point, how I feel. This existing driveway right here, right next to the house, whatever, and this is south, and this is west. If you look at the south and the west from that travel way, on these two here, if you're looking at this,
That's right.
this massive glass here, and this is massive glass here. If you want to combine them, part of the wall surface of visible, the invisible, local visible, you're over your 50%. This structure here is 26 feet wide, this wall.
Mm-hmm.
There is
12 feet of
11
glass.
11 feet of, I got 11 feet out of it. It's 1 foot shy of the 50%. This is well over the 50%. So if you can find that both of them are visible from a travel way, then it's an elevation. So you add your two elevations, you're way over. So this has already been taken care of, leave it there, but I still say this one here would go, get that one out of there and leave the two there. Because this way, if somebody comes in, they want the same configuration under 50%, they're not gonna make it. This is way over.
Which
So
side
if
do
we
you
didn't
want
know
to,
this-
which
Well-
side do you want to keep it on, John?
No,
The
he's
north
saying
or the
that-
south?
I just think we have to stand by our rules
He's
and regulations.
suggesting not to get rid of that.
No, I heard him, but I
Oh.
just,
What we've got on the books.
because we have the same thing over here too. I
That
didn't know.
faces into the
Yeah.
property.
They're,
It's
it's-
that faces.
Yeah, we're listening, John.
What did you say?
You said you want to get rid of that middle window and put,
Well,
because
after
it's too.
that, see that, you were talking.
You said
No,
you
but I
wanted
was
to
trying
say
to-
fairgrounds
to-
after the
All right,
meeting.
okay, fine. I just say,
We said we gotta stick to the rules of the guidebook, and
okay,
we got it.
Yeah, you said it was,
let me
I was
finish.
just trying to figure out which
She
elevation
wanted
you
to
were
know which
on,
window you were trying to get rid of.
because it's the same as, you know, as the north and the south are similar.
She's trying
The
to
door,
stick
sorry,
to which-
the middle
what we're
one.
trying to
Yeah,
keep.
you go, you know, they say you only need one door to get out of it, you can keep the fire, but that's not my fault.
Okay, so,
I want to talk in a motion.
okay,
I want to make a motion that without that central window, that central door, as it was in the past. And we approve it, I think it's over fenestrated.
okay, well, you've made your motion, so I'm gonna,
Which one, south? or
no,
north?
this, I think John was focused on the south,
Okay, just to make sure.
because
I
that's the
understand.
one that's visible.
Right.
Okay,
Not the reason why.
John has made a motion to approve this revision, getting
Without-
rid of the middle door that was added where the chimney was removed on the south elevation. All those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Where are you guys?
Hey, we open the vote?
I voted
well,
aye.
I'm
Before
just,
you take more of a vote, can I say something?
hang on it.
Call for the ayes.
Well, no, we got 3 ayes. You voted yes, I voted yes, and Val voted yes. So the motion carries. I'm just curious about where
Can-
the other 2 guys
Can-
are.
Well, can I say something?
Yeah.
I don't know the rules when you're, so we work really hard to like do the right thing and take into what HDC guidelines tell us, and I like to think workshop and what we bring is a pretty high level of design to the island. This is built. This is the most difficult client I've ever had in 22 years of doing work out here. It is the chain of events that will need to take place to remove an installed 9-foot mold unit for 3 feet of glass that, whether it has partial visibility or not, there's so many other things in this island that could be enforced and be strict
Okay.
on beyond this.
Well,
I'm just
Are you
like,
saying this
Andrew-
already exists?
Andrew.
yeah, it's all
Yeah,
it's
yeah,
built,
yeah,
it's
yeah.
done,
Yeah, yeah.
it's done, and like to remove that unit is.
Andrew, I definitely sympathetic. Now, the reason that I voted in favor of John's motion was A, I thought it was a sound motion, and B, I was getting feedback from virtually everybody at the table about, loss of chimney, too much glass, too much visibility. So I'm not sure that the other possible motion would have been to hold for revisions or hold for a view or something like that, which would have delayed this more. So, now, having said that, a motion was made and the vote was taken. And so we do have a motion that has been approved, and I still haven't heard.
I voted no.
You voted in opposition, and Abby, just for the record.
I love the chimney, I'm sorry, I know it's
Right.
existing, but I think it adds something to this building that it's not just fenestration, it gives it character, and it's less fenestration for John, so
Oh, just so you know, I'm not allowed not to entertain a motion. If somebody
I know,
makes-
I
if
know,
some-
I gathered
If
that.
somebody
I know,
makes
I
a
gathered
motion,
that.
I
I
gotta
get it.
go with it.
Yeah.
Now, so,
I mean, I could make a motion to reconsider, I voted no, and,
So you can't make a motion to reconsider.
no.
actually,
You can't make a
I
motion.
believe you
to
can, at town meeting, that's the only people who,
I believe that's at town meeting.
well, it's Robert's
Someone who-
rules.
Right,
So,
someone who
under
votes
part-
in favor.
Robert's
would
rule
need to-
says you
No.
you don't have to make a motion for that, you make a motion to reopen.
The chair can reopen.
No, it would be
yeah.
a reconsider,
Well,
not reopen, it would be to
Actually, I'm
reconsider.
sorry, it'd be for somebody
Yeah.
recused.
we can find the mechanics of this, but could I just simply ask Stephen the question? If we were to reconsider this, what would be your, what would you offer?
I would suggest we do a view and we get really keen on whether that's a visibility issue with respect to the magnitude of it. Look, the door is there.
It's there.
Yeah,
So,
no, so we can
there
actually
won't
go
be any-
and
right, so
look
we'll be able
at
to
it.
go there and look at it, and we can say, we can lament all we want to about prior decisions on this property if we so choose. That's
Right.
not what's on the table. What's on the table
I
is,
agree.
is this, at this point in the discussion, what's on the table is that middle door in the south elevation visible or substantially visible such that the application would be denied, appropriately denied? And I would just suggest that we go and take a look in fairness to the applicant.
So, now I think I could make this somewhat easier. John, would you be okay?
You made a vote,
What?
you have a vote on it, you do have to go through the reconsider.
Well, no, but couldn't John do that? Could he say that he could reconsider his motion?
We can pull and resubmit again and just hold for a preview.
Well, hang on, I want to hear what Terry has to say.
The motion has been voted, it's on the record.
Right.
So the only thing to do now, at this point, is to reconsider the vote.
Okay,
We'll
now,
reconsider the motion.
who is allowed to make that motion?
It's my understanding that someone who voted in favor of it would need to make a motion to reopen the
Well,
application for
I think it would
reconsideration.
be polite to give John the first opportunity to do so if he feels so, because he was the one that made the original motion. Does anybody disagree with that?
No, but could I ask John a question? Because I actually haven't voted. Could I ask you, where is that way that you said you could see it? Like, I think this is the
Beach.
side, right?
Travel, it says travel away right into your hand.
The driveway? That's not a traveled way.
Driveway, right?
It's the
Travel
property
away.
line.
I didn't make that decision.
Existing
Town council did.
footpath.
That's
And
not a
in
traveled
certain
way.
cases, you might use that.
The entire
The only
driveway
public
on
way is the
private
beach.
property.
So there's nothing down the side of it? I thought you said you.
No, there's nothing.
No,
down
there's
the
nothing
side.
down the side.
There's
It's
an old,
complete
there's an
scrub
old
brush.
thing
The
here.
only reason that I
Existing
will
footpath.
ask myself if it's up to me to reopen it is the fact that if we do, if we hold it for a viewing and you go in, see John, Mr. Hedden tomorrow and get a copy of where the town council made that ruling, it's in the office.
Okay, we'll get it, John.
Won't
Okay.
travel away. That
Okay.
way, that clears that I'm not making something up.
Sure,
Oh,
we'll get
John,
the info.
I can attest to that. I know, yes. But it's good for everybody to
We should
keep
have it.
refreshing.
Yeah.
So if we're gonna do a motion to reconsider, it should be done the same day as the original vote. And it should be done, John's correct, in part, it's not a yes or no person, it's the prevailing, someone on the prevailing vote needs to make the motion to reconsider.
Okay.
And we should probably do that before we continue discussion about what we're gonna do, because we've
Totally
already
agree.
closed the matter.
So Abby was just doing a point of order with John. So,
You're right about that.
John, would you be willing to make a motion to reconsider your,
Motion.
yes?
Oh, reopening, yeah.
Reconsider the motion.
To reopen?
Yes, I'll make that motion.
Okay.
Bring up the previous bring up this previous application for, open it, and do more discussion.
Thank you, I appreciate that. So all in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Aye. And I believe now that we're looking for
Is that a
John's,
unanimous vote?
I hope so.
Yes,
Everybody should be
I
in
didn't,
favor of it.
I didn't know if I could vote on it, because I wasn't part of the prevailing party,
Okay.
so I didn't.
Well,
No, you can vote on it.
All right, so now, I think that John is gonna make a motion to view this, but also to have the applicant get a copy of the town council's ruling on what constitutes a public way from John Hedden, correct?
Yes.
And is that your motion?
That's my motion.
Okay. All those in favor of John's motion?
Aye.
Aye. Okay.
Thank you very much for doing this, everybody.
We're holding
Appreciate
for
it.
viewing.
Okay.
And you're gonna get a copy of the,
Yeah.
you know, what's an approved, what's a publicly traveled way.
I'll amend it.
Okay,
That this be the first thing next week on the agenda. I don't think that changed anything.
the only thing it
I can't be
changes
here
are,
next week.
yeah, and I'm not gonna be here either.
and
I'll
I might
drive.
not be.
Okay,
Well-
What is
All
next
right.
week, our organizational meeting?
Nobody shows
Everybody
up.
flies off in various directions. Okay, thank you.
Thank you.
Compared to your 22 years you stated, okay, compared to my being here,
There's 4 people on there,
age,
right?
right, and understanding
This?
This one's
One,
for you.
no, that last one.
Yeah.
1, 2,
Five.
okay.
2 or 3 years now, so we're both compatible.
I understand that. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, you told me you're going.
He's
We'll
removed
get there.
casement and awning window out of his computer program.
I have. That doesn't show
I
up
think it's the
anymore.
4th.
Deleted, wasn't
I
it?
actually have it on my phone when you're gonna be gone.
I know.
Okay,
I know.
Program
thanks,
from the
everybody.
Howard
Now,
Bank. Second floor,
we
right?
have a few things here under other business. Are we prepared to approve the minutes of January 3rd and 8th, or do they need some further review? 'Cause I'm glad to go either way, depending on.
So you figure out where it is. I'm gonna abstain. I haven't reviewed them.
Okay, so Stephen's gonna abstain. Does anyone want to make a motion to approve the minutes of January 3rd and 8th?
So moved.
Thank you. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Now, were you serious, Stephen, when you said that you didn't have anything to say on Vineyard?
No, okay, so we're gonna do that now, discussion, that update.
If you have one.
Yeah.
Sure.
So, the Vineyard Wind Project, the, BOEM, which is the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management, had a meeting scheduled for the historic review, which is section 106 of the project, which they canceled due to the government shutdown.
Right.
We don't know yet when that will be. The intention going into that meeting is to have an understanding with the project, with the developer, on what type of mitigation on-site and off-site for the visual adverse effects, what type of mitigation they'll offer. And I believe where we left it last here with HTC was that we all would be considering what type of mitigation, I guess we could call it funding, what type of projects we would like to see undertaken as part of their mitigation effort. And that mitigation effort was education, tourism, historic preservation, planning, and I think we can lump in restoration. And a suggestion was made, I believe, by Elizabeth O'Rourke,
Yeah.
to fund maintenance and upkeep of the appropriately the mill, the existing mill we have on the island. And I previously at the BOEM hearing made a suggestion that they fund our historical, a redo of our historical survey, the island-wide historical survey.
Really?
Yeah, I think that would, I would suggest.
But they're not offering us anything.
Well, I'm just at this point giving
Right.
you what thoughts are on what specific mitigation type, what specific projects we might offer as the HDC. Now, those are two examples. There are others. And the other point to consider is that the HDC may come out completely against this. However, I'm not, at this point, my concern is that we would need a letter from our chair stipulating what the concerns are and to what extent we have concerns and what we would like to, I would suggest, and what we'd like to have done about them. We have not discussed this in the past, so it's kind of a shift in that regard. It's never come up that we would issue a letter against the town. I believe we've discussed the town has issued through the select board a list of concerns that they would like to see addressed. And part of that is on-site mitigation, which includes moving some of the turbines further away from the island, shifting them. So there's a couple of different ways we could go with it. One is we could come up with specific projects and generalized concepts of projects. What I mean by generalized concepts are that as the consulting parties, we have suggested that the developer would provide ongoing funding for projects in those categories, which again are tourism, education, historic planning, preservation, and restoration. We've informed the developer and BOEM that this is a new process to us, being Nantucket and specifically HDC and the other consulting parties, and that we haven't, it's just a commonality in our lives that we're so busy that we address things when they're real, and this is now a real concern, so we're giving it a focus. Along those lines, we haven't pre-planned projects for the next 5 years of minor or major scope. So we're asking that they would open up these categories with a concept of funding projects within those categories, and that a group would be established of members, the stakeholders on the island, similar to perhaps the CPC, for lack of a better example. And what the developer would do is they would fund the initiative. They would have a seat on the board, as well as a member of the HDC, a member of perhaps Nantucket Preservation Trust, the town's energy coordinator, because it's not just historical, even though it's historical perspective, there's a broader view. Then that group would sit down, the governing body would then have the ability to take in applications with criteria and under the categories to review and then grant funding to annually. We don't know how much money we're talking about. There's a lot of variables to what the solution actually will be. So it's very difficult to say.
And there's more than one company.
Right, and so it's very difficult to give you a framework with dollar numbers.
Right. Just.
Yeah, please.
Thank you very much for that.
Hope that's helpful.
So, as I understand it, there's like 5 parcels or 4?
There's 5 that were auctioned off. Vineyard Wind has had theirs for a while, but
now the other
4
3
in
remaining,
December,
they were
and
auctioned.
Vineyard Wind got another one.
Now, I think that the Vineyard Wind one is the one that's geographically closest to our island.
Yes.
All right? So it's going to have the most visual impact. Vineyard Wind.
Well, I thought I.
Yes and no, because it's going, if I may, it's going to depend in part on which turbines are selected, because turbine selection will dictate the height, the length of the blades, and therefore the height of the units. So for instance, one of the others may, if they put in much larger turbines, could have a visual effect that I'm not going to say is appreciably more negative, even though those are kind of opposite type of terms. But it could have still have a detrimental effect that you wouldn't expect because it's further away.
All right, but so what's under consideration right now is just the one parcel that constitutes Vineyard Wind.
Right.
However,
Yes.
if
but I just want to, I guess I'm going to underscore, Stephen, your point about the number of moving parts here. Because one of the things that you said early on is we could, as a board, say, no, forget about the ransom. As a board, we decided we don't like this. We're not endorsing it under any circumstances. Now, I saw the nice big, photograph that you had in the other building. That, I believe, was constructed before there was this discussion about moving all these things like another 20 miles further away from us. And how would that little photograph
there's a
thing
little
change?
bit of, forgive me, but there's a little bit of fake news. It's actually, what has been discussed is in the relocation, which at the BOE meeting, sorry, it just drives me nuts. The relocation is minuscule compared to that, is really the point. They're talking about shifting, the discussion so far has been, to my understanding, moving 6 of the turbines, removing the first 6, and then
6 rows or 6?
the first 6 turbines.
That's it?
That's it.
Oh.
So I don't have a distance, but it's not
that's the
miles
map
in any stretch.
Okay, so that wouldn't affect the bottom line.
Yes.
So the choices are, we either, there's 3 choices. One, we just say, great, move forward.
Yeah.
Which is unlikely. The other one is that we say, look, this is having sort of a detrimental effect on the historic character of the island, and therefore, in order to remediate that, we would discuss these options that we have for funding of various different programs.
Mm-hmm.
And then the third nuclear option is to say, hey, you know what? We just don't like it. We're not going to endorse under any circumstances.
I believe that those are correct, generally. I believe those are correct. Those are probably the 3 avenues of approach, if a letter is to be drafted. I do believe it would be beneficial for the HDC to take a position, one way or the other. And I would suggest that, as opposed to reinventing the wheel, that we may be able to pull from prior letter submissions, including, for example, Cape Wind. If that was something we wanted to look into. I don't know if that's something, John, you would have access to, or,
I was not around then. Was that reviewed by this board?
I don't
remember
know.
NPDC submitted letters in the select board, so I was
I
thinking
have
that HTC
everything.
may have.
On that stuff?
From Cape Wind, I have the 3,000-page BOEM GIS.
No kidding.
I have all the maps.
Do you know if the HTC submitted?
I have a separate group,
I know,
so I'd be not part of this.
understood.
At
Right, and I don't wanna cut,
Yeah.
I don't wanna cut Val off on it, I'm just trying to give the information relative to where we are currently with the proceedings, as I understand them, which I believe is fairly accurate, and what our options may be and how we might approach it. And I'm just wondering if you have, do you recall seeing a letter from the HTC?
I don't know, but I will send you everything I have.
All 3,000 pages?
Well, that I'll drop off to you.
Who is that person that sold that?
Oh, that's the Bureau of
And Ocean Energy Management.
That's the federal government.
Oh,
So here's another problem, because yes, they shut down and we didn't have our say, our public meeting. We are still not sure about, the deadline was today for comments, so we sent ours. The law firm that I'm working with, we sent our
Can I
thing.
clarify one thing? That's for the environmental impact study.
Oh,
Okay,
So section 106, the
It's
historical
separate.
review, because the HTC is represented by a consulting party, we can submit as long as the hearing is open. So just to clarify, there's a difference between the two.
okay, and are they giving you another chance for a meeting? We don't know
They
yet.
contacted us and said it was being rescheduled. It has to be rescheduled because one of the charges of this particular review is that the Bureau of Ocean Energy Management does everything it can reasonably to work out issues identified between the parties. And I want to be clear that BOEM has itself identified that there are adverse impacts, and they have requested there be mitigation. Yeah. So it's not just us.
that's good. That's great.
So anyways, just wanted to clarify the two different
Yeah,
processes.
and so to be fair, we're talking about Vineyard Wind, but if Vineyard Wind has no one asks for anything and nothing else is thrown on the table, those other four are gonna go through like that, and that's
Right,
a total
setting
of
the
about
precedent.
600 turbines.
Yeah.
Not 60, not 100, 600.
why isn't it called Nantucket Wind if it's so
Because
close to Nantucket?
because the company, they're from
Yeah.
Denmark,
There were,
aligned
that was the
with
name of the
vineyard.
company that won the bid
Right.
to be able to put the project in that location. Each one of those different parcels is gonna have a different name.
Well, Vineyard Wind's got two.
Oh, two.
The one closest to us and the one the farthest away from us, but in between is Bay State.
I'm not sure the players because they changed and actually I believe one of the companies bought another one.
Yeah.
Who was involved.
And what is the, near Block Island, what is that bright blue and brown mean?
So those are the ones that are currently under construction there and or also proposed.
Wow, this went so fast, it came out of nowhere. I just didn't know
Well,
there was.
the land tracks, the leasing areas were approved, I mean, I'm not, just to be clear, under a previous administration about 11 or 12 years ago is
Yeah.
what we were informed of. So
Why
these
didn't-
are the lease, this has actually been a project that Vineyard Wind has been working on with Vineyard Power, which is a representative of the Vineyard Townships, the collective for, it's kind of like their equivalent of an energy coordinator, but it's its own entity. And they've been working on it for quite some time well, they have been for a number of years. Whereas we weren't, as far as I know, made aware of it until sometime in maybe May or June, at which time we began to get engaged with these infrequent meetings that BOEM has put on. So it is new to us, but it's very, very far along, unfortunately, in the process.
I wonder
and I'm
why Block Island didn't fight back. I mean, that's a,
They are.
Yeah, I mean,
Yeah, and I'm not suggesting put
this,
down.
we're not the only people reviewing this.
no, but I just.
Ooh.
Okay, so, it's just, my fear is that it's not just the turbines themselves, but the maintenance, once we get a storm like yesterday.
Well, yeah, that was
Who's gonna
Lisa's-
go out there and,
Yeah,
Well,
That's
these
been
are
Lisa's
the
concern
unanswered
forever.
questions.
run up
that
the,
Each one has an extraordinary amount of oil in it.
great.
wow,
It's the coolant.
right.
So then once
They're
it gets used,
painted
it
with
needs to be
some
replaced.
paint that is supposed to keep them from rusting, but that also has an adverse effect. I'm more in the environmental
Yeah.
arena,
Yeah,
Right,
even though
the visual,
visually,
I know.
okay.
So Val, did you, as a public,
I just
member of
sent
the
you the
public,
letter.
did you wanna speak to the HDC and request anything, or are you?
How do we wiggle into this being HDC? I just wanna know, how do we get in there? We're historic structures, and how do we,
Well,
what's our bend on, well, how do we get to say something about wind turbines when we're
Because they
really,
affect the visual environment of Nantucket,
right, as
Okay.
a
which is
national
what
historic
we're all
landmark.
about.
Yeah, as a national historic landmark. So
in
good
our,
question.
in our history is our bread and butter.
Yes, so it's trying to
so we want
quantify
shingles
what
on
the.
them?
Too much shingles.
Yeah. Well, so,
Well, the concept of isolation and a maritime
Nantucket Cray.
heritage, and all of a sudden you have this kind of completely foreign element on your horizon.
right,
And foreign, not only in the sense that in the sense that historically there's no context for it.
right.
Right, well, my brother
with
lives
shingles.
on Tucker Nook,
Yeah.
and they know nothing about it. All
Yeah.
those people over there in their own little world,
But
they,
there's not a lot of coverage on it unless you have, as our chairman mentioned, the ham radio, and you can pick up on the.
Whales will not be able to echolocate.
There's a lot of eyes on this.
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know.
Anyway,
Anyways,
in terms of our eyes, this board's eyes, I think that, thank you for the update, both of you. Is this something that we should put on as an agenda item for, we have this, that we're on our thing for other business is a discussion of upcoming organizational meeting. Can somebody remind me when that is?
I know.
Is it February?
Hopefully late February.
It's a week from, no, it's a week from next Thursday, I think.
Was there a motion to reschedule to March? Is that what I heard?
Well, everything's sort of in flux a little bit because of the shutdown. But could we just tentatively put it on as an agenda item for the organizational meeting? Hopefully you'll have more information, and then hopefully we'll have like most of our board members here, and that we can come to some sort of a consensus, and then we could vote to have me draft up a memo of our sentiments and forward that.
If I may?
Yeah.
My only concern for the commission would be that, given the timeline, when is the meeting, our organizational?
I believe it's in 2 weeks from this Thursday, so like the beginning of February.
Oh,
So I don't know how quickly they're going to reschedule the section 106. The concern is that although the meeting was postponed, is the deadline to complete the process will not be. That's how
that's
they've been working with it.
patently unfair.
Yes.
Well, that's why we got our stuff in today.
Yeah, so, and again, the environmental's on a little different schedule, but they function with the same type of constraints that,
I have a suggestion.
yeah.
Because you have been following this so closely with me, with your other hat on, why don't you make an outline that you could share?
Well, what I was gonna suggest along those lines,
Okay.
if I may, again, a lot of if I mays tonight, is that we identify whether there was a previous letter from the HDC, and then we might use that as a foundational Because there may be things we're not thinking about, or we just haven't had an opportunity, there's certainly things we haven't had an opportunity to discuss
I
that
haven't,
may be identified in that letter.
all the Cape Wind stuff, I'll just send it to you guys.
Okay.
And then, so the point would be is that perhaps we would discuss it again in another week, but you won't be here, so in 2 weeks.
I will
Should
not
I
be
send
here
it to
next
John
Tuesday.
and then he'll send it to everybody?
Yeah, that's better.
Okay,
Then we don't run
This
into any,
information, yeah.
alright.
So for 2 weeks out, which is when the organizational meeting is anyways.
well, no,
February 7th.
yeah, which is a Thursday,
Okay.
not a Tuesday. So,
It might give us a chance just to at least look at the letter
Yeah.
and discuss it.
okay,
Yeah.
I like that idea.
Does that work?
So you get the information
Yeah.
to John, John gets it to everybody else,
Yeah.
and then we'll reconvene that. Okay,
Yeah,
Yes.
all right.
what about the ASICs?
So, yeah, what's the story there?
We met
Commissioner
with-
Oliver, Val and I met with
Island Lumber?
Island Lumber and talked about the uses of, or the use of AZAC trim and the kind of the rumor mill and
They are the only,
witnessed usage of it on different houses, and they informed us that they do not sell it. Island Lumber does not.
that we need to get to the other ones.
Yeah,
Marine?
and I've
It's
Yeah, this all
Well,
came
I-
up because I have a
and-
client who was in there.
Thank you.
Island?
No, I'm not gonna say which one, but they were
Okay, but one-
promoting it
Let's just
as
say
an,
one that
this
sells
can
it.
be used on Nantucket now.
Yeah.
Like an ad, like.
It's not Corian windowsills in your shower. It's on the outside of your house.
And it,
So,
yeah. I've seen it.
and John sent out a letter to all of the lumber
yeah, the
companies,
local lumber.
and the only
companies.
one that responded was Island Lumber, the
Because
place
they
that
don't sell
doesn't
it.
sell it.
But to be clear, right, I mean, we're having an open discussion here.
Yeah.
It's not prohibited for use on Nantucket. You have to get an application in that says you're gonna use it so that the commission has an opportunity to say, yes, you can, or no, you can't. It's not that you, is there some, I'm not aware that it says anywhere you cannot use it. It's that if you're gonna use something, a material on your trim, which is on our application, it states what are the dimensions of your corner board and what is the material. And if someone is putting it on their house without having an approval for it, without having first have it reviewed, I think is the concern. Clearly, we're not gonna be, I would think, not using it in the old historic district or the old historic districts. There may be places or certain instances where it's appropriate, there may not be, but people need to be putting it on their application, or if they're found not to have it on their application, right, that's a
Well, I
violation.
think we need
Correct, yeah.
to make them aware that they can't just push it.
Oh, right, promote it,
Right,
right.
And we
Which-
probably should revisit it at our organizational meeting or our
Yeah.
we have the
subcommittee.
alternative
Okay.
materials on our list.
So I'm gonna, this discussions about these alternatives to red cedar have been going on since before I was on the board. And I remember participating in one where I wasn't even on the board. Because AZIC is one product, there's another one that's made out of like fly ash. I forget the name of all these different products. And then there's one that's actually made out of pine wood. They take the pine grain and they suck like every bit of water out of it, and then they sort of
Resin or something.
put something inside of it. So they say back then, and this was probably David Barham years, was like, okay, so that product is fine because it's wood. But it's not like wood. It's not like they just went out and harvested a tree and then put it on the shelf. They do this special process to it so that it doesn't rot, which is a good thing. But so that was sort of the demising line. And then they were talking about the fly ash product, which is fly ash is actually a natural product. It's a byproduct of coal being burned. But the bottom line for me is, and I did a project over in Falmouth. And I went over in a meeting with the builder, and the house is right on the water. And he's like, okay, so we're gonna put up some trim, and it's gonna be AZIC. And I said, well, wait a minute, no, red cedar. And he said, no, AZIC, you gotta use it over here, cause it lasts. And, I said, no, we use red cedar and and he said, come back next week and I'll have some mock-ups for you. And I went up and he did 2 corners of this one gable. And he said, which one's AZIC and which one's, red cedar? One's red cedar and one's AZIC. And I looked at him, I touched him, I banged on him, and there was no way I could tell the difference. So, I think that it's I think all of those products, and they all have their limitations, like AZIC,
Shrinks.
exactly along its length.
Yeah.
Not its width,
Right.
its length. So that's a problem with that product. The other one that's made out of fly ash is good in long lengths, but there's some other issue with it, like it's not structurally stable or
It's
something.
durable, yeah.
But so, I think, it's my own personal view, that we should, I thought we actually had this discussion, consider alternative products to red cedar. Because what happens right now is red cedar is so expensive that people who are going for an alternative buy pine, which rots, and you're replacing it.
It's
not-
fast growth material, so the
Yeah.
cellular
Yeah, it's-
distance
it's-
is too.
But I think it's a slippery slope.
Well, what about just in the
If that-
historic district or something like that?
Well,
where you-
Yeah,
I would suggest though, if I may, that there's, like, the issue that John and Val have identified, I think, if I'm understanding correctly, is there's actually vendors promoting this as a usable material, kind of like you go into one of the supply houses and there's HTC approved roof shingles. This is an HTC approved material, so what's happening is it's perpetuating the use where people are unknowingly, like the mini split systems, installing them, but they do need to come in front of us. So we need to, I'd suggest we need to address that.
Mhm.
And then on the alternative materials, I would agree with our chairman that they are viable, but I think there are certain applications and in certain locations where some materials may not be viable. So for instance, AZAC on a contributing structure in the whole old historic district, or picket fence material in the old historic district. But I would suggest that would be something that we would be bringing back to you under the alternative materials section that we're gonna be working when we reconvene the
I
OFC.
think it's just opening Pandora's box.
To
So
use
it's
those
either all or
materials.
none.
Well, but
No, I
Dale, that's
disagree.
not fair, because there's a difference between using that on,
What's gonna translate is, now they're already being promoted and we haven't said yes or no. Then it's gonna be, well, now there's a plastic trim, and if we're using synthetic trim over here, why can't we use this kind over here?
because the HCC said you can.
I don't know. What it gets down to, for me, is our organization is charged with the visual impact of architecture to the island. We could also include tactile if you're able to reach out and actually touch something like a fence. If something's close enough to a public way where you can touch it, then, how it feels and all that comes into consideration. I remember a discussion a long time ago about the columns that were used on the new, now old Whaling Museum. The original building, we all remember, was the brick building with those 2 massive, I think they're poured concrete columns, maybe stone, but in any case, not wood. And then the new building has faux columns. It has fiberglass columns right downtown. And there was this, big thing about that. And the fact is, when you walk up to those columns and bang on them, you can't tell whether they're wood or fiberglass or whatever. Now, so there's, I'm sure, some cheap columns out there that you can get that you can bang on and it would echo and would immediately tell you that they weren't real. So I think, I don't know, I think we have to review products as they come out.
Yeah.
Look for One Pleasant Street and after them.
One Pleasant Street?
One Pleasant Street, we restored the old one,
Bobby
45 years
Bobby
ago.
Barker's
It used to
house?
be a restaurant.
Yeah, with the, used to have yellow clapboard, now it has
Yeah.
white clapboard.
Yeah.
I thought those were fluted columns. You know, don't they have,
You rap on them, you can hear the difference.
Is
Really?
that
There's a
right?
little echo inside, yep. That's why I.
well, I could have
I
sworn
always
those were
remember
real
that
wood.
one.
Anyway,
Wow.
um,
What, should we be considering ecological effects too? Like, does fiberglass, like, how does, what happens to, if we take down a building and where does the wood go? Like, is the wood, is wood
wood
more
gets
ecologically? Yeah, so if it, was that a factor? What happens to AZAC when it breaks down?
it doesn't break down.
Yeah, well, that's, I'm
That's
just
why people
wondering
use
if,
it.
if
But
maybe-
then the other side of that is, you know, they had that whole thing with diapers, everyone got rid of diapers, but then they realized that we got rid
Right.
of diapers, but now we have the issue with the landfill. And
Yeah.
we have the issue, so with the wood not going to the landfill because you're using an alternative material, it means you're also not depositing the paint material that's on the wood in the landfill. And you're also not using more paint because it's a more durable substrate, so.
And you're also not deforesting the Pacific
Right.
Yeah.
Northwest.
So
That's true.
the only thing I
Yeah,
was trying
that's
to
true.
get to was, our chairman has said, is it's a bigger topic than this evening, but at the same time, I was trying to acknowledge that John and Val have identified an issue that I think we need to address by letting vendors know this isn't approved, and applications have to come in front of the HDC for
with
any
their
material.
materials, what they're using.
Yeah, whether it's wood or something else, because otherwise, you know, I agree with Val, people are just gonna think it's okay. And they're gonna use it, and we're gonna have the same type of problem we had with the mini splits, but maybe more pernicious because it's not as visible.
I'd like to interject a case that happened
Yeah.
with, I didn't know what AZAC was, so tonight, you know, first time I heard of it, you know, I knew there was that strange material. Well, down the end of, Wisconsin, down the Low Beach Road,
Yeah.
after the Coast Guard station, the house on the right, way back. The guy built the house, had it built, you know, and halfway through, he was using some of that, I'll say Aztec, some of the new stuff.
Mhm.
Somebody called the office, so we went out and looked at it. And it was like a fiberglass, you know?
Really?
And, one of those crazy things, you know, but anyway, the decision of the board at the time told him that's not an approved material. He took it all off and put wood on it. I couldn't believe it, you know, it was, because it was painted, he already painted it and then he put them up. So whether you're
Right,
100 feet from the house or 20 feet, you can't tell all these painted houses.
yeah.
I think the house you're talking about is being renovated right now.
Yeah, I think it is.
And they're ripping all of that wood,
Oh, really?
wood or whatever it was off that they put on, what, 8 years ago? Wasn't that long ago.
Does anybody remember out there, just past this house, the Wall City?
Yeah,
All
that pink
stucco
stucco
wall?
house.
Oh, yeah, yes,
Big
yeah,
house,
Yeah,
yeah, that's a very
that's
sad
long gone.
story.
That was built back in the 40s.
Yeah, Low Beach Road, she ran over her own dog. It's very sad.
I'd
The
like
pink
to
house.
make one statement.
There was nothing done on that.
It's not on the agenda,
Well, he was a dog.
but I don't know how I can say I can describe it, take me 2 minutes. About, the travel way,
Yeah,
I just looked it all up, the whole thing. Also, it says in there, if it is visible from a public park or a public waterway.
yeah.
Now, if it-
So
Right,
that was,
that's what I
that was
read.
Terry's point.
Yeah,
Cause you
I-
can
yeah.
see, you can
Yeah,
see,
all about putting 50 or 100 of them out here and sound, can't take a sound.
Oh,
Those
yeah,
windmills,
yeah.
you know, we could have had control at the time on that. It's a public water body or water.
well, we still do have a say in it.
You see most of them, you know, so, I just make a statement, you know, that the memory box kicks in on some of this stuff, you know. I want a windmill in my house, but I can't do it.
Take up my whole.
There's enough
patio.
wind in that area.
If it falls over, it's only 15,000 square feet. That thing fell over and hit somebody's house.
What happened to this? Did anybody go see it?
So
Yeah.
I guess, I just don't wanna let that go on the on the trim, in terms of, do we feel as a commission that we should be
Oh, yeah, maybe you should write a
informing
letter to the
vendors
lumber
through our
people.
professional staff, that
or-
it's not just a carte blanche approval that every material on a
Right.
structure needs
Yeah.
to be, exterior needs to be
That,
reviewed.
those pretty much included in my email.
You already
saying,
sent it.
You know, it has
Wait,
been-
so
Oh.
you sent one to Mark Songer,
Yeah,
I'm
Marie,
sure.
yeah.
And did you send one to Shepley?
Yeah, all the local,
Good.
Home Depot, Lowe's. A lot of people
Actually,
are
do they
bringing
buy-
stuff over, yeah.
I
I mean,
don't-
we don't have control over it.
And they can still sell it, right? We don't have control over that.
No.
Or-
No, it's just to inform them.
I mean, yes, they can still.
Yeah,
sell
yeah.
it.
of
we
course,
did
right.
talk about, you know, how they banned, with the plastic bottles, that's gonna take effect
Yeah.
in 2020. You know, the single plastic bottles, so technically the
Actually,
town-
what they banned was all single-use plastics.
Yeah, yeah,
So if you walk down the shelves in the Stop and Shop,
yeah,
and everything that's in a plastic container, you can't buy
right,
in a
right.
year.
So we talked about that, but, you know,
Bring your
if you
waterproof
were
can is
able
fine.
to implement that, say, you know, plastic trim or whatever, fiberglass trim wasn't sold on Nantucket, you can still bring it over from the
Right.
Cape, so it's, you know, from somewhere else, so, you know, it just can't be sold on the island, so.
Yeah, but the reality is, you know, if you're going grocery shopping, you're not gonna,
Yeah, are you
Just a
gonna
bo-
get the Perrier with the plastic?
Come on, Amazon
Or are you gonna get
pantry.
the glass? I always go for the glass.
never
It's
hear.
more,
I can order stuff and get it before I would be downtown again. Yeah, I'm telling you, it's crazy.
wow.
Didn't you hear the drone fly over and stop my?
Yeah.
I gotta check that out.
Well, what about- I'm worried about this.
Let's talk about that after, tonight.
No,
Wait,
No,
After tonight.
after tonight or tonight?
I was gonna say after comment tonight.
I can't make a plan yet.
John, want to put that
Okay.
down for next week on the
I have to get through.
discussion of this?
No, don't put it down, I would suggest, because it's gonna be counterproductive.
what are we talking about now?
If you're talking about the organizational focus committee, restarting,
Yeah,
having I think having a discussion is premature at this point, because we just heard from Val that she needs to resolve some stuff.
we're supposed to go over the materials, listen,
Okay.
and submit it to the board.
Put it on the agenda then, you're causing problems that aren't
Well,
gonna be
tell me
easily
what's
rectified.
wrong.
No, we're gonna have we'll have a discussion next week when it's on the agenda.
We can't all have it your
Wait,
way.
wait, I
It's
wanna
got
make sure I
nothing to do with my
understand.
way.
Well, why are you jumping on me?
Wait,
Are we putting on are we putting something on
John.
other
No, no, John.
business that relates to your committee?
well, we were talking about resuming again. We stopped because I was having treatment
Yeah.
and all that
Yep,
stuff.
yep.
And he
And-
wanted to do it next week, and I am not gonna be here, cause I'm gonna be in Boston again, so I have to.
John asked to put that on the agenda
Wait.
for the group discussion, and my suggestion is that it's not a group discussion matter, it's a matter for the OFC to determine when they're gonna restart. That's all.
Oh, we call them counterproductive.
It's counterproductive to have a group discussion when one of the members can't contribute because they don't know when they're gonna be able to participate. So
Three of us, right? Yes or no?
I am not gonna,
John,
Yes.
take it off,
there are three of us,
take it off.
and it's not something I think is in good form to
You're
push.
gonna have to explain it to me, outside.
Okay, so that will not be another business item
Gotcha.
next Tuesday.
Alright.
Okay.
Anything planned for Thursday?
This Thursday?
Yeah.
Sorry, I just.
Not that I'm aware of. Now, so we actually have not, other than to suggest that a few things would be on our organizational meeting. John, my guess is that you're just looking for
Brains-
topics,
Yeah,
like we
brainstorming.
usually, so we've been down this road before. Anything that any of you personally feel like should be worthy of discussion at the organizational meeting?
Synthetic materials.
Right, so submit that to John so that he can get a schedule going of,
Topics.
yeah. Okay?
all right, well, what about my thing? Did
Okay.
anybody go see 44 Orange?
No, can I just
You
say,
have to-
can I
yeah.
just say something
Okay.
about that?
Yeah.
You mentioned something about that. You said, well, in order to see the rot or whatever it is that's taking place,
know,
you have
I
to
know.
go around the back of the house. Were you trespassing?
I'm
just, just
well-
asking the
I
question.
didn't have my hat when I went,
So-
because didn't go around the
Because
back.
honestly speaking,
I
like if if the front of the house looks great,
Does
that's
it,
what
does
we're,
it?
well, I don't know.
Well, I don't think it does.
No, but when I go and view,
Yeah.
just so you know, I'm not gonna go on their property. I'm not gonna go around the back of the house.
What?
And
Well,
I will if I'm wearing my
Because,
hat, but I didn't.
because I'm not sure that I'm allowed to.
well, what happened was I was looking for 16 and 18.
Yeah,
How we
Yeah,
were
yeah,
doing
you
that
told me,
driveway
right.
that went in between.
yes,
So I
Sorry, I didn't.
mistakenly, it's the same situation where you have a driveway going in with houses on either side.
yeah,
Right. So I had I was going to look for that house that they were building there.
yeah. No,
So-
I know.
The house at 44, it's the front door is on the side. And I think it's true of it at 42 as well. So they
Right.
face into the driveway.
Right.
And I thought it looked, like it's falling apart.
Okay, well, so then you didn't trespass. What you're talking about, you can see from Orange Street. I thought you said you had to go around the back of the house.
You
Oh,
do, you
Oh,
do,
she did trust us.
you do. I went too deep.
You cross the lot.
But-
I mean,
So-
it's an interesting question.
I know.
Like if the front of the house looks great, visible from
Well,
a public
This
way.
sounds like a good topic for the organizational meeting when we
Yeah.
have the town council here. Seriously.
Wait, is town council gonna be at this thing?
If you request it, it's a little.
well,
Oh, I'm sorry, I just presumed that from previous meetings.
No, usually if we have some sticky
Okay,
legal
I wasn't
issue,
Yeah.
suggesting
Yeah,
anything,
yeah,
I
yeah.
just,
because we have to request
oh, we gotta.
that he
put the
be
request
here,
in.
and it's a thing.
So it has to be falling apart on the front of the house in order to
Well,
save it?
The other,
Visible.
the other thing that we can do is if we discuss this at our organizational meeting and we sort of reach a wall because we don't know what the legality is, then we would submit a question to
Yeah.
town council, just by email.
Right.
Ask them like, well, can we do this, to tell whether a building is falling down? Can we go on the property? My guess is no.
There is the demo policy, and I wonder if there's preservation of protected, so I think that there's a higher threshold with a protected structure.
Well,
And
it's
it-
just, it is one of the, sort of mansion-y buildings on Orange Street. Do you know the one I'm talking about? Have you,
Is this,
walked by it?
well, is this the one that used to be called Four Chimneys? It was an inn, gigantic, right at the turn.
No, it's
No.
before
No.
that. Is it the ones that have the planters in front of them that are built into the side of the building?
Oh, it's only for demolition, it doesn't cover, I thought there was a thing for dereliction, I'm sorry.
Well, demo by neglect,
Yeah.
That's
the HDC gains jurisdiction on the inside of the building, if the framing members, the integrity of the framing members are in jeopardy of
Right.
causing the building to go in such disrepair.
Well, it is a question, because sometimes you do see buildings that
It's gonna happen.
are, like on a lower Orange too, there's, how do we, maybe it's for the organizational meeting, but if we're concerned about a building that has historic merit, how do we bring that to the attention of the person who owns it?
We've
So
done it
the-
a number of times.
Yeah,
Gull Avenue or Gull
Island.
Lane
It's,
is an example of a successful version of that, where they actually, I think they wound up, took a long time, but they wound up selling the building, has a new owner who's renovating the building. That was a success. Then there's the old Victorian out off of at the bottom of,
Beach Road,
well, I was gonna say Baxter Road.
I mean Baxter Road.
Baxter Road, you know, hearsay, but it's owned by two spinsters that, you know, don't wanna let it go, and the thing is completely falling apart.
That's, yeah.
And this board has noticed them countless times over the years and nothing, you know, so.
So, yeah, let's make it an organizational, at the organizational meeting and see if we can come up with something.
Okay.
Or maybe, John, you could just provide us with the if we have a written
What's it
policy.
called again?
Yeah.
Something
Demo
by
by
neglect.
neglect.
Demo by neglect, but
And there's also minimum maintenance, which is also in the town code.
I think that's more like it, isn't it?
Chapter 124, section 9.
Motion to adjourn,
Subsection C.
if you want.
No, that sounds
Yeah,
fine.
I
I
think
think
there's
we're
only
all
an
ready,
eight
aren't we?
Yes.
Okay, so John has made a
So Abby, you'll send in.
motion to adjourn.
I'd like
All
to.
those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Valerie Annette.
Thank you, everyone.
What's that?
friendly
So that was
Valerie
called,
Annette.
John,
Yes.
so it's called minimum maintenance
Yeah.
town code.
It's in the town code.
Valerie Annette. Oh.
Valerie Ann.